Linglong's return brings laughter back to Chuyang Peak, but Jiang Ming's divine sense has already detected a faint, powerful light in the southeast. As the Qingyun sect flaunts its disciples, a hidden power stirs within Jiang Jin. Leave a like and join the sect to witness the confrontation. Linglong's return brought liveliness back to Chuyang Peak. The sound of laughter rang in the air once again. Jiang Ming cooked 18 dishes and 4 kinds of soup for their meal. Gu Hai rubbed his hands together as he sat on the main seat. I've never been given a treat like this before. Sometimes I wonder if you're really my disciple. You've lived such a long time and experienced many things. You won't be impressed no matter how many dishes I put on the table. However, junior sister is different. She's never been away from the mountain before, and her first time away from the mountain was 14-day long. Now that she's returned, it's only natural that I cook up a feast for her, Jiang Ming said with a smile. You're the best senior brother, Linglong said. From the moment she returned until now, she could not stop smiling. As expected, the meal was delicious. Congratulations on preparing a wonderful and delicious feast. Your junior sister and master are satisfied and happy. The meal also helped relieve their feelings of longing. Reward, a detailed explanation of human cultivation realms. Jiang Ming's eyes lit up. This was just what he needed. Time flew by quickly. In just a blink of an eye, it was already afternoon. I'm leaving now, senior brother, Linglong said, clearly reluctant to part. I'll be cultivating in seclusion for a long time, so I won't be coming back so soon. All right, go, Jiang Ming said with a nod. You're the greatest talent of our sect, so we have nothing to fear. No one will dare to look for trouble with us. If anyone dares to look for trouble with you, I'll beat them up, Linglong said as she waved her fist in the air. Then she said to Gu Hai, Master, if anyone bullies you, you have to tell me. I'll definitely avenge you. Jiang Ming and Gu Hai laughed. After his master and his junior sister left, Jiang Ming felt empty inside. He knew his junior sister had returned this time because she had missed him and she had also wanted to give him presents. Whoosh! The human path records flipped open. Jiang Ming looked at Linglong's information. As expected, there were some changes. Name Linglong, gender, female, cultivation base, second extreme golden core realm background. Disciple of Juyang Sect's Chuyang Peak relationship. 95 innate talent, 9 stars, primary phoenix bloodline. Status, cultivated the second Dao motif on her golden core and happily returned to Chuyang Peak to see her senior brother whom she'd missed. Their relationship was as good as ever. He was surprised that she had reached the second extreme state of the golden core realm. It had barely been 20 days since they last met after all. Junior sister is progressing swiftly. If this continues, she'll be able to reach the 9th extreme soon. However, it'll get progressively difficult. She should be able to completely temper her golden core in 3 years, perhaps. Jiang Ming was not certain if his junior sister would be able to reach the 9th extreme, let alone the 81st extreme like him. Apart from that, Jiang Ming was rather surprised that Linglong's status even revealed that she had missed him. After a moment, he cleared his mind and leaped onto the rooftop. He leaned back on the recliner facing the setting sun before he began to read a detailed explanation of human cultivation realms. Jiang Ming thought for a book that only contained information about different cultivation realms. Its title was a little too long. As Jiang Ming flipped the pages, his eyes flashed as he muttered under his breath. It specifically mentioned humans. Jiang Ming silently read the books. It started with the key cultivation realm, going into detail about its nature and characteristics, the size of the dantian, the quality of mana, and other things. In the end, Jiang Ming came to the conclusion that qi cultivation, foundation establishment, and core formation could be considered as qi nurturing. The objectives of these 3 realms were to fortify one's mana until one could open up one's sea of consciousness and leap up to the heavens with just a step. Jiang Ming continued to read the book. It also contained information about the Golden Core realm. It spoke about how the Golden Core realm was the standard, and it would take a true genius to be able to break the limit and reach the extreme state. There were 9 extreme states, and the 9th extreme Golden Core was the extreme of the extremes. However, there was a footnote that stated that although it was rare, a peerless genius could exceed the 9th extreme. Jiang Ming cocked an eyebrow when he read this. At the same time, Jiang Peak. Yu Cheng was seated on the highest seat in the main hall. His body shone with a divine radiance that obscured his face at this moment. Outwardly, it looked as though he was deeply focused on cultivating. However, in truth, he was spying on the situation at Chuyang Peak. Linglong repeatedly refused the sectmaster's intention to accept her as a disciple. For her to return to Chuyang Peak so soon for a visit, it can be seen that she views it as her home. It's obvious she treats Jiang Ming as part of her family as well. She'll definitely return to Chuyang Peak again. I might not be able to do anything about Taiyang Peak, but Chuyang Peak. No, the issue with junior brother Zuhan just died down, so I shouldn't act rashly. I should bid my time. Various thoughts appeared in Yue Cheng's mind, thinking of different scenarios. Taiyang Peak. Linglong briefly glanced in the direction of Jiang Peak as her eyes flashed icily. At this moment, Gu Hai, who was standing next to her, said, Linglong, you're only 11 years old. You can't spend all of your time cultivating. You should go out and see the world. Why don't we visit Chuyang Peak today? There are many senior sisters there. I want to cultivate so that I can protect senior brother. Linglong said as she always did. He's fine on his own. He might not be as talented as you. He's still stronger than the average disciple. There's no need to worry about him. Gu Hai said earnestly. Why don't I show you around the human world? There are hundreds of thousands of people in a city. You can find countless delicacies there. There are the performers and storytellers. Anyway, it'll be fun. Linglong merely shook her head, leaving Gu Hai feeling helpless. In the end, he could only watch as Linglong returned to the sun pit. At this time, the sect master suddenly appeared next to Gu Hai and said, "She's a little too stubborn. This isn't good. Once her personality is set, it won't be easy to change her. You're her master, so you should do a better job of guiding her." "Do you think I don't want to guide her? However, do you think it's possible?" Gu Hai said helplessly. "This is Jiang Peak. Those old farts see her like a piece of treasure. They keep an eye on her throughout the day. How can I say anything? They'll jump out of their holes and nag me if I were even a little strict with her. Anyway, you know what I mean." He eventually watched on as Linglong waded into the sun pit. "She's slightly prejudiced, that girl," said the sect master who suddenly appeared beside Gu Hai. "This isn't good. This isn't good at all. It'll be difficult to change her once her personality is set. Aren't you her master? You should be doing a better job in taking care of her." The sect master's lips curled upward into a smile before he chuckled. "What are you laughing at, you old and rude geezer?" Gu Hai sneered. "Oh, look who's talking," the sect master retorted. Chuyang Peak. Jiang Ming was still reading. He treated it as a pastime, leisurely flipping through the pages. The Golden Core realm was the accumulation stage. The Purple Mansion realm was the stage to lay the foundation for the Grand Path. The Dao Seed realm was where a cultivator chose his path. The Dao Seed's essence is Samboda. Jiang Ming pondered on this sentence. According to the book, cultivators could gain insight into several Sambodas and cultivate multiple Dao Seeds. Although Dao Seeds could coexist in harmony, one should not blindly cultivate them. Otherwise, one would risk ruining one's future. If the Sambodas of the Dao Seeds are of the same lineage, it's possible for them to coexist and even fuse into one. However, if they're Dao Seeds of fire and water, I'll have to gain insight into the yin-yang path and cultivate a yin-yang Dao seed. Otherwise, I'll have to destroy either the fire or water Dao seed since it could cause my cultivation to stagnate. Soon after, an idea appeared in Jiang Ming's mind. Sambodas were divided into several categories. Some shared the same lineage, some complemented each other, and some could be fused. Interesting. The Grand Path is close at hand. Jiang Ming continued reading, thoroughly enjoying himself. Realms contain thorough explanations of Sambodas. According to the book, Samboda was divided into multiple ranks. The detailed explanations on human cultivation realms contain thorough explanations on Sambodas. For example, suppression, abundant, and boundless were categorized under Earth Samboda. Drizzle, rainstorm, optimal water, frost, and mist were derivatives of water Samboda. As for wood fire, sun flames, earth fire, and desire fire, they were categorized under fire Samboda. Abundant was considered low rank among the earth Sambodas. Earth fire was considered low rank among fire Sambodas. Sambodas were divided into rudimentary, intermediate, advanced, and ultimate ranks. The 5 elements were the most fundamental powers of order that formed the world. The Sambodas they formed were considered rudimentary. Most cultivators formed their Dao seeds with rudimentary Sambodas. Needless to say, not all rudimentary Sambodas were equal. For instance, Frost Samboda and Drizzle Samboda were both derivatives of Water Samboda, but Frost Samboda was more powerful than Drizzle Samboda. As for intermediate Sambodas, the most common ones were the 5 elements themselves. Many advanced Sambodas were fusions of the 5 elements. For example, wood and fire would produce wind. Water and fire would produce thunder, or yin and yang. Water, fire, wood, and earth would produce vitality. Water, fire, metal, and earth would produce death. They were not limited to these fusions. There were various types of fusions. Light evolved from fire, while water, earth, and metal would form darkness. When the 5 elements flowed in harmony, they would form the world. When they flowed in reverse, they would bring about destruction. The derivatives of the 5 elements were considered rudimentary, while the fusions were considered advanced. There were also powerful Sambodas apart from the 5 elements, such as destruction, reincarnation, karma, time, space, and others. There were only 2 ultimate Sambodas, space and time, and chaos. Apart from that, there were other special Sambodas as well, such as sword Samboda, saber Samboda, fist Samboda, and many others. These could only be classified as rudimentary Sambodas. However, they could be easily manipulated to fuse with other Sambodas. Examples of the fusions were Drizzling Sword Sambodi, Death Sword Samboda, and Destructive Sword Samboda. Technically, they're categorized under the 5 elements and non-5 elements. Thoughts continued to race in Jiang Ming's mind. In fact, destruction, reincarnation, and karma were part of the 5 elements. The flow of the 5 elements gave rise to the powers of destruction, reincarnation, and karma. When Jiang Ming flipped to the next page, his eyes instantly lit up. His attention was caught by a few specific sentences. At its roots, there's only one ultimate Samboda, which is the legendary chaos. However, since the dawn of time, no one has ever mastered it in the human world. This Samboda only exists in theory. Even the space and time Samboda isn't included in the records. Chaos formed the words, giving rise to time, space, yin and yang, and the five elements. When the five elements flowed, all creations were formed. Yang Ming felt something in him stir. Was the book delving into the nature of the world? He shook his head as he thought to himself, this can't be. After all, it's called a detailed explanation of human cultivation realms. As expected, he saw a footnote at the end of the page. This conclusion is made after poring over millions of cultivation tomes in the human world. I'm not responsible for any inaccuracies or mistakes. I've gained insight into the wind and thunder Sambodas, and in the end I selected the thunder Samboda to form my nascent soul.
The fuck?
Jiang Ming exclaimed. Then, he hurriedly flipped to the end of the book. As expected, he saw a description. This book was written by Master Dao Yan before he attained immortality. You should trust this writing, but not completely. You'll have to depend on your ingenuity to discern the truth. Good luck on finding your grand path. I thought this book contains the knowledge from the system, so I read every page seriously, sorting out the information and mulling over it. In the end, it's written by some person who merely gained insight into the wind Samboda and the thunder Samboda. Moreover, he even gave up on one of them. Jiang Ming was overwhelmed with the urge to lose his temple. He stood up and paced around his room as he muttered under his breath, I viewed you as the truth, and now I find out it's just someone's personal views. I have to depend on my ingenuity. Good luck? If you're standing in front of me, I'd tear you into pieces. After a moment, Jiang Ming took a deep breath to calm down before he stopped pacing. He sat down again and continued reading. This time he took everything he read with a pinch of salt. The days went by. Jiang Ming's life was as peaceful as ever. After completing his chores, he spent time gaining insights into various Sambodas. In the afternoon, he took a short break from cultivating. He drank a cup of tea before he routinely opened the Human Path records to check on Yu Cheng. He would check on Yu Cheng's information once a day. Name Yue Cheng, gender male, cultivation-based, Dao seed realm. Background, first seed of Jiang Peak. Note, he's an elder of Yinmo sect. Innate talent, 8 stars. Relationship, -48. Status, secretly investigated Jue Han's death but yielded no results. After analyzing the experts of the sect, he concluded that the culprit is an outsider. He was delighted when Linglong cleared the Tower of Trials and is determined to recruit her so she could be the holy daughter of Yinmo sect. He plans to wait for 3 months for things to settle down before making a move. Once everyone lets their guards down, he plans to send Zhou Yizhao, an elder of Jiang Peak, to Chuyang Peak to set up a formation. When Linglong returns to Chuyang Peak, the formation will be activated, isolating Chuyang Peak from the world. At that time, he plans to abduct Linglong and bring her away from the sect to nurture her. This old geezer really didn't learn from his lesson. I must look for a chance to deal with him, Jiang Ming thought to himself indignantly. It seemed like his days on the mountain were too carefree, and it was time for him to shake up the balance slightly. Following that, Jiang Ming flipped to a blank page and mentally wrote down Zhu Yizhao's name. Name, Zhu Yizhao, gender male, cultivation base, Purple Mansion realm. Background, elder of Juyang sects, Jiang Peak. Note, he's actually an elder of Yinmo sect, innate talent, 6 stars. Relationship, -12 status. He's been ordered by the first seed of Jiang Peak to head to Chuyang Peak tonight to set up a formation. A relationship value of -12 meant that the other person disliked him. As a Yinmo sect elder, your fate is sealed, Jiang Ming thought to himself with a hint of contempt. Yu Cheng, you're taking me too lightly by sending a lone Purple Mansion cultivator here. Following that, Jiang Ming looked at his junior sister's information and discovered she was already at the 3rd extreme of the Golden Core realm. Amazing! Jiang Ming exclaimed in shock. After Jiang Ming was done looking through the Human Path records, he leaped in the air and looked at the back of the mountain. The lands had been plowed. When he had run out of soil previously, he had brought some back from the foot of the mountain. After obtaining Guhai's permission, he had also demolished the buildings on the other side before plowing the land and planting some seeds and herbs. Most of them were ordinary herbs. When it's time for the harvest, Jiang Ming's expression was one of anticipation and delight as he thought about the harvest. As night began its descent, Jiang Ming waited with an anticipatory expression on his face. He's here. When the stars and moon finally made their appearance, he sensed a concealed aura approaching from a distance. If he did not cultivate his special cultivation method, he would not have been able to sense the person. The person he sensed was none other than Zhu Yizhao. He could tell Zhu Yizhao was not traveling through air. Instead, Zhu Yizhao was currently making his way through the woods at the same time. Zhu Yizhao finally arrived at the foot of the mountain. He surveyed his surroundings and was surprised to discover the inactive protective formation. This caused a smile to bloom on his face. That old fart Guhai isn't around. Apart from that useless Jiang Ming, there's no one on the mountain. Hey, this is too easy. Zhu Yizhao muttered to himself, I should set up the formation near their residence to ensure success. Zhu Yizhao was about to climb up the mountain when he discovered the ripples in his surroundings. A grand formation suddenly shrouded in just a blink of an eye. No! Zhu Yizhao exclaimed in shock as he hastily brought out a top-grade item to defend himself. In the next moment, he saw a figure appear in front of him before reaching for his head. Apart from completing his daily chores and comprehending the Sambodas, Jiang Ming also spent time studying formations. He thought formations were important. He had planted several mid-rank and low-rank weapons around Chuyang Peak to be used as formation cores in case of a need. As it turned out, they came in handy today. After Zhu Yizhao triggered a formation that isolated him from the world, Jiang Ming used his great Akasa step and traveled using the Akasa network. As soon as he appeared before Zhu Yizhao, he raised his hand and unleashed a wave of energy. The space around him seemed to still at once as he struck the defensive bell Zhu Yizhao had brought out. Crack! The bell shattered immediately. The fragments fell on the head of the flustered Zhu Yizhao. It's over, Zhu Yizhao thought in despair. After all, someone who was capable of shattering his top-grade defensive bell with just a strike definitely possessed strength beyond his imagination. He had no hope of fighting against this person. Moreover, the space around him had stilled, rendering him immobile. In the next moment, Zhu Yizhao felt a hand landing on the crown of his head. A terrifying torrent of mana surged from the point of contact and neutralized the various powers in his body before shackling his purple mansion. Just like that, his cultivation base had been sealed. Purple mansion cultivators are too weak, Jiang Ming thought to himself as he grabbed Zhu Yizhao's neck and dragged Zhu Yizhao up the mountain. After Jiang Ming came to the courtyard, he tossed Zhu Yizhao to the ground. Jiang Ming? Zhu Yizhao exclaimed in shock and disbelief when he saw his assailant. Colors drained from his face immediately. He continued, Impossible! How can you be so powerful? You're just a key cultivation cultivator. Shut up. I'll be asking the questions, not you. Jiang Ming said frostily, Is the Yinmo sect planning to take over Juyang sect? How do you know that? Zhu Yizhao stopped breathing for a moment when he heard this question. He shuddered as realization dawned on him. He cried out, You killed Zhu Han. That's right, now talk. At this time, Zhu Yizhao chuckled and said, This won't change anything. Juyang sect is destined to be reduced to ashes. You won't get any answers from me, kid. Jiang Ming's expression grew frostier. Zhu Yizhao scoffed and turned his head to the side. Crack! Jiang Ming smacked his hand on Zhu Yizhao's left leg and a crisp, cracking noise rang in the air instantly. Zhu Yizhao's bones and muscles were destroyed, but he only grunted without any change in his expression. There's no need to waste your energy. With my cultivation base, physical pain won't shake my will at all. Your best option is to hand me over to the sect master. No, how am I supposed to explain the circumstances of your capture if I hand you over to the sect master? Moreover, I have no evidence to prove that you're from Yinmo sect, Jiang Ming said as he looked at Zhu Yizhao with a frown. Then, he pressed his hand down, destroying Zhu Yizhao's sea of consciousness and his purple mansion, effectively destroying Zhu Yizhao's cultivation base. It should be easier to interrogate you without your cultivation base. Jiang Ming was considering his next step when he saw Zhu Yizhao suddenly jolt. Following that, blood trickled out of Zhu Yizhao's 7 orifices before his eyes rolled back into his head and he stopped breathing. Jiang Ming was speechless when he saw this. I should have been more careful. Forget it. It's enough that I know the Yinmo sect is up to no good. Yu Cheng hasn't made any big movements. This shows that the Yinmo sect isn't so powerful to the point where they're invincible. Moreover, if Yinmo sect dares to try anything in the eastern region, the first to act would be the Qingyun sect. Jiang Ming flicked his wrist. Zhu Yizhao's corpse levitated. When Jiang Ming clenched his hand, his corpse was instantly reduced to a bloody pulp. Then, Jiang Ming spat fire from his mouth, reducing his remains to ashes. After getting rid of the evidence, Jiang Ming claimed the storage ring and the low-grade artifact sword that Zhu Yizhao left behind. With just a leap, he returned to the rooftop. In truth, he was not bothered by Zhu Yizhao at all. He treated this as a fun activity. After all, he was confident he would be able to kill Yu Cheng with a single strike. Jiang Ming sensed his body. The liquid mana in his purple mansion was already full. This meant he could attempt to break through now. However, he was not in a hurry and decided to give himself another 2 days to prepare Jiang Peak. What's taking him so long? Yu Cheng sat cross-legged on his seat in the Great Hall. He seemed like he was cultivating, but he was actually waiting for Zhu Yizhao's return. At the same time, he was also keeping an eye out for elders who might be heading to Chuyang Peak. He needed to be very cautious. After waiting until daybreak, Zhu Yizhao still had not returned. What's the meaning of this? Yu Cheng wore a sour expression on his face. At the same time, he began to feel uneasy as well. First, Zhuo Han was killed. Now, it seemed like Zhuo Yizhao had vanished into thin air. Since he had been monitoring the situation, he was sure there was no fight around Chuyang Peak. He did not sense any powerful aura. Nevertheless, he was rather sure that Zhuo Yizhao would not be coming back. He wondered who was strong enough to get rid of Zhu Yizhao without causing any commotion at all. What's the meaning of this? Is the culprit the same person who killed junior brother Zhuo Han? Yu Cheng suddenly had the urge to flee. However, in the end, his rational thoughts won, and he remained seated. Zhuo Han went to Chuyang Peak previously to kill the two disciples on Chuyang Peak to push the blame to Linglong Peak, but he died. Zhu Yizhao went to Chuyang Peak to set up a trap for Linglong, and he had gone missing, most likely dead as well. Both of them died without too much of a commotion, as though the culprit did not want anyone to find out. Chuyang Peak must be hiding a huge secret, Yu Cheng muttered to himself as a biting cold rose in his heart. Various expressions flitted across Yu Cheng's face as he thought to himself, I'm no longer safe here. I should urge them to make a move within 5 years. Otherwise, I'll fucking quit. In any case, Yu Cheng decided that he would not act against Chuyang Peak anymore. He had already made 2 unsuccessful attempts. Anything beyond that was too much. If he persisted, the culprit would definitely look for him. Fuck, how can I be unaware of someone like that in the sect? Yu Cheng cursed. He felt as though he was going to go crazy, and it took some effort for him to calm down. In any case, he was fine with the culprit wanting to keep a low profile. 2 days later, Jiang Ming activated the formation before he sat cross-legged outside his bedroom. He was going to attempt to break through tonight. He had spent very little time in his current realm. His feat was unprecedented considering his purple mansion was almost completely filled due to the mana he accumulated as soon as he broke through. His accumulations over the past few months helped propel his current state to a certain extreme. Since he was already at the limit, the only thing left to do was to break through. There was no point hesitating. I'll be entering the Dao Seed realm from the Purple Mansion realm. The key is to understand nature, its wonders and workings, and gain insight into the Samboda of all creations. Following that, I'll have to turn my Samboda into a Dao Seed. While Jiang Ming was mulling over this matter, he held the enlightening stone in his hand. Over the past few days, he had used up the enlightening tea leaves and 4 enlightening stones to cultivate. The stones were more than 100 times more effective compared to the tea leaves. When he first used the stone, he instantly entered a meditative state. He had been surprised when he gained insight into 9 Sambodas in an hour. Now that he was attempting a breakthrough, he decided to use his final enlightening stone. I've gained insight on 81 Sambodas. Do I pick one to cultivate, or do I cultivate all of them? Jiang Ming was in a dilemma. It would be easy if he chose to cultivate one Samboda into a Dao seed. Needless to say, if he had to separately cultivate all the other Sambodas into Dao seeds, it would take him a long time. During the breakthrough, with the support from heaven and earth, he could try to cultivate all his Sambodas into Dao seeds at once. However, if he failed, he risked destroying his cultivation path. The path of cultivation is fraught with dangers anyway. You can reach the heavens, but every step that leads you there comes with danger. Cultivation by nature goes against the will of the heavens. If one wishes to become an immortal, one must overcome trials and tribulations. This obstacle in front of me is nothing in the grand scheme of things. I shouldn't hesitate too much over this minor risk, Yang Ming thought to himself decisively. With that, Yang Ming steeled his resolve. Stone in his hand as he cultivated with the Grand Path Almighty Methods Sutra. Liquid mana churned in his purple mansion, forming vortexes. Each vortex contained a character. As the mana churned, the flowing Samboda fused without forming small seeds, which were Dao seeds. As soon as the Dao seeds formed, Jiang Ming was considered to have entered the Dao seed realm. At this moment, the Dao seeds emitted a strange energy that swiftly melted into his purple mansion, further expanding it. This was the second chance for the expansion of the purple mansion. If one managed to form a powerful seed, the purple mansion would expand even more. Dao seeds continued to appear as the liquid mana in Jiang Ming's purple mansion was rapidly decreasing. At the same time, his purple mansion was expanding at a shocking speed. According to a detailed explanation of the human cultivation realms, when Dao seeds were forming and the sea of consciousness was expanding, forming Dao seeds from rudimentary, intermediate, and advanced Sambodas would expand the purple mansion by half its size, twice its size, and at least 10 times its size respectively. There was no mention of ultimate Sambodas. The formation of every Dao seed was an extension of the seed before it. The more Dao seeds one had, the larger one's purple mansion would be. This was an alluring but dangerous temptation. After all, one would risk one's life doing so. Master Dao Yan, the author of a detailed explanation of the human cultivation realms, had to give up on one of his Sambodas and give up on further expanding his purple mansion to reach the primal spirit realm. If he was not protected by his nature fluid, his purple mansion would have crumbled and he would have suffered irreversible damage himself. A person can obtain mana and extend his life through cultivation, but it's not without risks and dangers. The path of cultivation leads to heaven, but every step was fraught with danger. This saying was not exaggerated at all. The Dao seed realm was a fine example of it. Forming multiple Dao seeds could expand the purple mansion greatly and would bring about an explosive increase in strength and combat powers. but if the Dao seeds could not be fused, it was no different having one's future ruined. As for the Dao seeds, 99.5% of them would be rendered useless while the remaining 0.5% would stagnate and would never improve. Since Jiang Ming had made up his mind, he no longer hesitated. His purple mansion expanded rapidly and outrageously. Compared to the first expansion when he was in the Golden Core realm, the current expansion felt easier. As his Dao seeds increased in numbers, various characters fused with his purple mansion, fortifying it. Eventually, he formed 81 Dao seeds and completed the breakthrough. Accordingly, his purple mansion stopped expanding. At this time, he barely had any liquid mana left, and what was left turned to mist in the vast space. 81 Dao seeds hovered in the air, emitting their respective characters. My purple mansion is now 640 square kilometers wide. Jiang Ming was stunned. Before this, it only had a radius of 10,000 meters. The expansion was truly outrageous. I wonder if anyone could form 81 Dao seeds. Even if they could, would they dare to attempt such a feat? Although Jiang Ming felt pleased, he was feeling uneasy as well. If he could not fuse the Dao seeds, everything would have been for naught. Jiang Ming continued living peaceful and carefree days on the mountain. He repeated the routines of his simple life. Occasionally, the system would give him some special rewards such as basic almanacs, combat strategies, spiritual crystals, medicinal pills, enlightening tea leaves, and enlightening stones. Mostly, he would be rewarded with cultivation. Apart from that, he had also begun to use spiritual crystals when he was cultivating. Since his sea of consciousness was too vast, who knew how long it would take to fill it? Using spiritual crystals would help him with filling his sea of consciousness even if the effect was not as exaggerated as the years of cultivation that the system rewarded him with. Jiang Ming did not neglect to master the Great Akasa Formless Sword Chi and the Great Akasa Steps as well. He even used these two special abilities to slowly gain insight into various derivatives of spatial abilities such as the Spatial Wave Samboda, Spatial Cut Samboda, and Spatial Movement Samboda. When he gained insight into the Boundless Sea Samboda, he felt as though he had been slightly enlightened. He could now fuse Dao seeds with water elements. There were 64 Dao seeds with the water element. Among them were the Drizzle Dao seed, Light Rain Dao seed, Rainstorm Dao seed, Sudden Rain Dao seed, Droplet Dao seed, Misty Rain Dao seed, Extreme Cold Dao seed, Ice Blade Dao seed, Snowflake Dao seed, Fog Dao seed, Boundless Sea Dao seed, Optimal Water Dao seed, and Wave Dao seed. Jiang Ming tried to fuse them using the Grand Path Almighty Method Sutra and managed to do so without much trouble. After the fusion, he managed to form the Water Dao seed. I did it! Jiang Ming exclaimed in delight. He wondered if it would be so easy fusing the other Dao seeds as well. Perhaps fusing all the cultivation methods under the heavens was not so impossible, after all. Fusing all the cultivation methods will leave me with one Grand Path. Jiang Ming felt like his understanding of the Grand Path Almighty Method Sutra had deepened as well. The next few days passed by uneventfully. Linglong would return to visit him every now and then. Each time she visited, Jiang Ming could see the huge changes in her. Similar to before, he would also flip through the human path records daily, especially to check in on Yu Cheng in case he tried something funny during a certain rainy morning. Jiang Ming stood on the rooftop, resting his hands on the railings. The rain that fell parted to the sides, unable to touch him. He looked into the distance through the misty rain. The mountains were majestic and the scenery was beautiful. When he looked to the side, he saw the paddy stalks were bent low while the wheat stalks swayed with the wind. The entire mountain had been converted into farmland, including the land where the abandoned buildings used to stand. All in all, he now had 100 mu of farmland. When the rain stopped and the sky cleared, it would be time for him to harvest his crops. The spiritual herbs he planted had matured as well. Jiang Ming muttered to himself, "In 10 days it would be 3 years since I gained the system. Time sure flies." Cultivators rarely counted the years. Even decades were just a short time to them. Swoosh! Jiang Ming called up the human path records out of habit and flipped to Linglong's page. This had become part of his daily routine. Name, Linglong. Gender, female. Cultivation base, 9th extreme of the Golden Core realm. Background, disciple of Juyang sect's Chuyang Peak. Relationship, 95 innate talent, 10 stars. Primary phoenix bloodline. Status, cultivating in Chuyang Peak's sun pit. She just cultivated the 9th Dao motif on her Golden Core. She broke the shackles she was born with and raised her innate talents to 10 stars. Jiang Ming's eyes lit up. He could not help but exclaim, "She was at the 8th extreme yesterday, but she's already at the 9th extreme today. As expected of my junior sister. She's really amazing. She's the indisputable main character of this story." Their relationship value was as stable as ever. Although they did not meet often, their relationship value did not decrease. As expected, he could really depend on her in this regard. It was one of the reasons she was the apple of his eyes. The quality of her 9th extreme Golden Core improved as well. Her constitution is now the primary Phoenix bloodline. An innate talent of 10 stars is considered the top among humans. However, as my junior sister, she can't stop here in the human world. At the very least, I expect her to reach the ranks of the immortals. Jiang Ming was in a wonderful mood. His mood improved further as he thought to himself, she should be done with her cultivation for now since she's reached the ninth extreme of the Golden Core realm. He placed his hands on his back as the rain continued to fall and the clouds sailed in the sky. Soon enough, his information appeared before his eyes. His eyes lit up as his confidence grew and his mood lifted further. I'm now strong enough to protect Chuyang Peak. Name Jiang Ming Cultivation Base, Dao Seed Realm. Cultivation Method, Grand Path Almighty Method Sutra Spell, 10,000 Sword Technique, Basic Formations, Basic Talismans, and Other Special Ability, Great Akasa Formless Sword Chi, Great Akasa Steps, 9 Divine Mountain Treasures Innate Talent, Immortal, Primary Taoist Body Item, Human Path, Records 3 Shadowless Needles High-Grade Artifact, Noble Robe Low-Grade Artifact, Flowing Cloud Sword Top-Grade Weapon. Although it did not seem like Jiang Ming had experienced many changes, in truth his change was dramatic. His cultivation base was now at the Dao Seed realm, and his sea of consciousness was close to a radius of 3,000 kilometers. It was both terrifying and incredible at the same time. A Dao Seed sea of consciousness of this size was unprecedented. He had many Dao Seeds in his sea of consciousness as well, such as the fused water, wood, and earth Dao Seeds. He had yet to fuse the fire, metal, and metal Dao Seeds. There were also the wind, thunder, light, shadow, darkness, death, and spatial wave Dao Seeds. He could have fused the wood and fire Sambodas to produce the wind Samboda, but he directly gained insights into it by contemplating the wind character in the world. It was the same for the Thunder Dao Seed. Some Dao Seeds were in their primary states when he formed them, while some were already completed. They each varied. Jiang Ming was still some ways from forming the Dao Seeds of the 5 elements yin-yang, karma, and the Sambodas of destruction, reincarnation, fabrication, space-time, and space-and-time. If he gained enlightenment of all of them, his combat strength would increase explosively by several magnitudes. He wondered how vast his sea of consciousness would be at that time. Unfortunately, he was out of enlightening tea leaves and enlightening stones. Although he had gained some from the system, he had quickly used them up. There were no major changes to his spells, but he was becoming more well-rounded with the spells he had mastered. When Jiang Ming was tired from cultivating, he spent time studying pills, drawing talismans, experimenting with formations, and forging artifacts to spice up his otherwise monotonous life. He gained a new special ability, the 9 Divine Mountain Treasures. He had yet to gain much of an understanding of it and only learned that it held endless power. The great Akasa Formless Sword Chi was peerless in offensive strength and stealth, but the 9 Divine Mountain Treasures had terrifying suppressive effects and destructive power. They both had their own advantages. Unfortunately, this was the only special ability he gained after 2 years. He gained while he was harvesting his crops. What's my current combat strength like? Yang Ming wondered out loud. He had far surpassed his master a long time ago. Even Yu Cheng, a first seat, did not pose a threat to him. A few months ago, he had observed the Sectmaster from afar and found that he did not have any reason to fear the Sectmaster as well. I don't think I've fought a decent battle since I started cultivating. Jiang Ming shook his head. The rare instances where he had made a move was a one-sided battle. He had easily crushed his opponents, hence he did not find it enjoyable or stimulating. Jiang Ming sat on the recliner and continued looking at the falling rain. It would be perfect if his close friends were with him now to enjoy the scenery. After a while, Jiang Ming began to contemplate his next step. In less than 10 days, it would be 3 years since he obtained the system. He was certain he would be greatly rewarded at that time since he was not rewarded during the 2nd anniversary. He had figured out the pattern of the timing. He would be rewarded for farming on the mountain every 7 days, a fortnight, a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, and 3 years. Perhaps the next rewards would be 5 years and 10 years from now. Although he was not completely certain, he thought it was likely so. He would also be hugely rewarded for the 100 mu of crops that were about to be harvested. I hope I'll get more enlightening tea leaves and enlightening stones, otherwise I'll have to pay a steep price for my ambition. The steep price he referred to was time. Jiang Ming was about to cultivate again when he saw a streak of light flying toward him before landing on the greeting platform. It was Jiang Junbao. Senior brother Jiang, are you for more booze? Jiang Ming rose to his feet and greeted Jiang Junbao with a smile. He lifted his hand and tossed a bottle of wine over. He had personally brewed this bottle of wine. Jiang Junbao caught the bottle and eagerly opened it. He took a large swig from the bottle before he wiped his lips. He was filled with praise as he said, "Your wine is the best. Not bad, first disciple Jiang. You're already at the foundation establishment realm. You can be considered a genius in the sect." With just a leap, Jiang Junbao landed on the rooftop. Jiang Ming said modestly, "And yet, I'm still far behind you." Jiang Ming chose to disguise his cultivation base at the foundation establishment realm. With this, he was not considered a peerless genius, but he was still better than most disciples. "You're almost there. After another decade or two, you'll definitely become a proud son of the sect," Jiang Junbao said. Then his expression turned grim as he continued to say, "Anyway, I came here for another matter as well. A Qingyun sect elder brought 10 disciples here to challenge the Tower of Trials. One of them managed to clear the tower. He's incredibly powerful. As for the other 9, they made it to the 8th floor at least." Amazing. Jiang Ming was shocked. "They're more than amazing," Zhang Junbao said. "Qingyun sect is the sacred land of the eastern region after all. Our sect can't compare to them." Anyway, one of Qingyun sect's disciples suggested a friendly match between the sects. "The sect master has said that every peak will have to participate in the match. I came here to tell you about this. We can't disobey the sect master. Come on." "Alright." Yang Ming did not hesitate at all. With that, the duo flew away on their swords immediately. As they flew, Jiang Ming asked, "Senior brother Jiang, why did the mighty Qingyun sect visit us?" "They're not here to make friends for sure," Zhang Junbao said. Then, after hesitating for a moment, he added, "The elder mentioned junior sister Linglong's name several times. Even the core disciples he brought with him mentioned her as well. Does it have anything to do with her phoenix bloodline?" Jiang Ming asked with a frown. "Are they trying to recruit Linglong?" "I'm not sure," Zhang Junbao said as he shook his head and smiled wryly. "Although they said it's a friendly match, they only want to use it as a chance to flaunt their strength. It's too bad that we're weak, so we can only acquiesce and play along." Jiang Ming felt rather helpless as well. The Qingyun sect was the undisputed overlord of the eastern region. In comparison, Jiyang sect was like a child. It did not take long before the duo arrived at Chuyang Peak's main plaza. Many disciples were already gathered at this time, and many were on their way over as well. As soon as the duo landed, they saw Liang Peak's Huiyun reeling as he spat out blood in the sun pit, a restricted area. Linglong's cultivation base had already stabilized after she reached the 9th extreme of the Golden Core realm. At this time, she leaped out of the pit. "Did you achieve another breakthrough?" Gu Hai asked. He suddenly found it hard to breathe from the pressure his little disciple radiated. While he felt proud for having such a talented disciple, he felt slightly ashamed of himself. "Yes," Linglong said excitedly, "I'm ready to return to Chuyang Peak. Let's cultivate there from now on." Gu Hai laughed. "All right, if you continue cultivating here, you'll only bring heartache to the sect master." Gu Hai was filled with delight whenever he recalled how the sect master's face would twitch whenever he saw the liquid in the sun pit rapidly depleting after he failed to convince Linglong to become his disciple. Suddenly, Linglong turned to look at the main hall in Chuyang Peak. "I sense senior brother's aura. What's he doing here?" Gu Hai briefly recounted what had happened. "What? The Qingyun sect disciples proposed a friendly match with disciples from all the peaks? Senior brother would be beaten up for sure," Linglong exclaimed. Then, she leaped toward the main hall as she said through gritted teeth, "I'll destroy anyone who dares to harm senior brother." Peak's main hall. After Huo Yun was tragically defeated, Zhang Junbao, who had just arrived, was challenged and subsequently defeated as well. The 8 first disciples of Juyang sect's 9 peaks were all defeated. "They're trying to thoroughly humiliate us," Chang Yiming said with a dark expression on his face as he supported Zhang Junbao, who sported a bloody lip. Jiang Ming could see this clearly as well. There were 10 Qingyun sect disciples present at this moment. Some of them stood with their arms crossed while some stood lazily. Despite their varying postures, all of them lifted their chins slightly, knowingly or unknowingly portraying their superiority. One of the Qingyun sect disciples, who was dressed in a black robe with golden embroidery, was surrounded by the others. He had an insolent, domineering, and arrogant air about him. Many of those from Juyang sect found the black-clad Qingyun sect disciples' arrogant gaze rather annoying. Swoosh! Yang Ming flipped open the human path records. Name: Muley, gender, male, cultivation base, 4th extreme of the Golden Core realm, background, core disciple of Qingyun sect, relationship, -45. Innate talent, 8 stars. Primary flood dragon bloodline. Status. After hearing about a female disciple of Juyang sect with the Phoenix bloodline, he suggested to the elder to bring him here so he can ask for her hand in marriage. He would entice her with benefits, and if that fails, he would use force. Once he succeeds, he plans to use heard that there was a female disciple with the Phoenix bloodline in the Juyang sect. Hence, he invited the elder on this trip where he would ask for her hand in marriage. He would entice her with benefits and pressure her with force. Once he succeeds, he plans to use the furnace method to harvest the power from the Phoenix bloodline. The dragon and the phoenix were a pair. He intends to use the Phoenix bloodline to boost his flood dragon bloodline. When his dragon rises to the 9th heaven, he'll be a candidate of the Holy Sun. Jiang Ming's eyes narrowed and flashed coldly upon reading Muley's status. "Trying to lay your filthy hands on my junior sister? Keep dreaming." Jiang Ming fought back, the violent urges surging in his body as he carefully studied Mulei's information. Mulei had an innate talent of 8 stars, the primary flood dragon bloodline, and was at the 4th extreme of the Golden Core realm. With these, he was considered a peerless expert, a proud son of the generation, and a cultivator with exceptionally high talent. As expected of a core disciple of Qingyun sect, Jiang Ming was not surprised by the 45 relationship value. After all, Mulei was trying to get Linglong. It was only natural that Mulei had heard about Linglong's senior brother. At this moment, Mulei said to a young man next to him, "Zhang Yu, you're the youngest among us. You're not even 30, and you're the weakest among us since you're only at the real core realm. You'll spar against Chuyang Peak's first disciple. After that, we'll end this friendly match. Remember to show restraint and not hurt disciples from another sect." "Yes, senior brother," Zhang Yu replied respectfully. He stepped forward and looked at the disciples of Juyang sect contemptuously before he asked, "Who's the first disciple of Chuyang Peak? Step forward now." Jiang Ming frowned. His impression of Mulei grew worse. Fuck him. Mulei naturally knew how weak Jiang Ming was, but he shamelessly asked his fellow disciple to challenge him. Moreover, he told his fellow disciple to show restraint and not hurt him. Mulei was clearly trying to further humiliate Jiang Ming. Jiang Ming took a step forward before he was held back by Chang Yiming. Chang Yiming said, "I'll fight in your place." At the same time, Linglong appeared in the sky. Before her feet even touched the ground, her melodious voice, which sounded like the clattering of pearls on a jade tray, rang in the air. "Which unknown person challenged my senior brother?" Then she landed in front of Jiang Ming before she dove into his arms. "Senior brother, I missed you so much." Chang Yiming raised an eyebrow before he tactfully moved to the side with a small smile on his face. At the same time, Zhang Junbao sighed with relief. Mulei, who was standing in the distance, narrowed his eyes immediately. Jiang Ming ruffled Linglong's hair before he pulled away. "Show some propriety, Linglong." Then, he asked, "Are you done cultivating in seclusion?" "Yes, I just came out. I was about to return to Chuyang Peak when I sensed your aura here. That's why I rushed here." Linglong explained. "Senior brother, these shady people don't have the right to challenge you. Sit back and watch the fight from the side. Leave the rest to me." "Be careful," Jiang Ming cautioned. "He's just a weakling," Linglong said dismissively. Then she looked at Zhang Yu and asked, "Are you the one who challenged my senior brother?" "Yes." Zhang Yu's depression darkened as he said, "You're the first person to call Qingyun sect disciples shady and unknown." "Are you famous?" Linglong asked coldly. "Are you the holy son of Qingyun sect?" "No." "Are you a core disciple?" "No." "Then are you a first disciple?" "I'm not," Zhang Yu said through gritted teeth. "So what did I say that's wrong?" Linglong scoffed. "You're not a holy son, a core disciple, or even a first disciple. That means you're a nobody. My senior brother is a first disciple. You're insulting my senior brother by challenging him. Impudent." Zhang Yu was furious. "You should feel honored that Qingyun sect disciples even deign to challenge Juyang sect disciple. You're just a brat with a sharp tongue who knows nothing." Linglong sneered. "Based on your words, as long as they're from Qingyun sect, it doesn't matter if they're just a cleaner, they'd have the right to order people around. Is that it? Do you think the Qingyun sect is the king of the eastern region? Are we supposed to worship everyone from the Qingyun sect just because I'm dismissive of you, you say I know nothing?" Zhang Yu was furious, but he did not dare to act recklessly. Although Qingyun sect was strong, it could not openly bully other sects. At this moment, his ears suddenly twitched. Mulei had sent him a voice transmission. Following that, he hurriedly said, "Stop talking nonsense. We're here to have a friendly match today. Our core disciple Mulei hasn't even stepped forward yet, but 8 of your 9 first disciples have already been defeated. We haven't fought anyone from Chuyang Peak yet. Are you going to fight, or is that what's-his-name going to fight?" Linglong's eyes flashed coldly. "I won't allow my senior brother to fight an idiot. I'll fight you." Linglong stepped forward and released her aura. The void around her rippled as her sleeves fluttered in the air. "All right," Zhang Yu said grimly. His mana surged before forming a divine barrier around him. With just a move, Linglong seemed to have vanished into thin air. She moved at blinding speed and was instantly upon Zhang Yu. She raised her hand to strike without wasting time. "No!" Zhang Yu's eyes widened as his heart jolted. She was too fast for him. He hastily retreated and activated his artifact at the same time. Alas, it was too late. Bam! Linglong's hand landed on Zhang Yu's chest, causing him to reel back and spit out blood. "Is that all you've got? You don't even deserve to be called an idiot." Linglong flicked her sleeves and placed her hands on her back, naturally exuding a majestic and domineering aura. However, just as quickly as it had appeared, it disappeared. Then she turned to Mulei and the others before she said, "Come at me all at once. Show me the strength of the supposedly powerful Qingyun sect disciples. Let's see if you're a group of heavenly kings or experts as rumored, or if you're just riding on the name of your sect to bully others." The members of Juyang sect were smiling at this moment. Some of them were even cheering. "Good job, Linglong." Chang Yiming gave her a thumbs up. You're doing great, Zhang Junbao added. You've really grown up, Jiang Ming said with a smile. He noticed that Zhang Yu was only injured and did not die. With this, there would not be any issue. On the contrary, the expressions of Mu Lei and the others darkened immediately. All of them were furious. Some of them even stepped forward but were held back by Mu Lei. Subsequently, he walked towards Linglong and forced a smile on his face before he said, I Mu Lei, a core disciple of Qingyun sect, has cleared the Tower of Trials today. You must be junior sister Linglong. Your reputation precedes you. I'm honored to meet you today. I'm not your junior sister, Linglong said as she raised a slender eyebrow. Her expression grew frostier as she said, Are you going to fight or not? I'm tired of talking. The flames of fury in Mu Lei's heart had been extinguished at this moment. Instead, he was appraising Linglong and was filled with the desire to conquer. After I reached the Golden Core realm, I once held my own against a Purple Mansion elder from the sect. I've also defeated several Purple Mansion cultivators from other sects. Apart from that, I've also killed 3 Purple Mansion demons. Is that all? Don't you feel ashamed for bragging about something like that? Linglong said scornfully. You should all fight me at once. Mu Lei felt his breath caught in his throat for a moment as his face turned red. Inside the Great Hall, Sect Master Yan Yan was keeping the Qingyun sect elder Gei Changqing company. They chatted idly over tea. Ji Changqing looked outside the Great Hall and asked with a smile, What do you think of our current batch of disciples in Qingyun sect? Apart from Mu Lei, the others are internal disciples. As expected of Qingyun sect, the disciples are all talented, the sect master said as he looked at Zhuyang sect's first disciples who were defeated. He cursed inwardly, Fuck you. How dare you flaunt your strength here? Moreover, you want me to flatter you, you fucking bastard. They can't be considered giants among men. They're only average, Ji Changqing said casually after taking a sip of tea. The core disciples are better. Only those at the Golden Core realm are qualified to become core disciples. The internal disciples are far inferior to the core disciples. The sacred land of Qingyun is like the head of the dragon that is the eastern region. Even the achievements of your disciples are worthy for us to learn from, the sect master said dutifully. Inwardly, he cursed again, Fuck you. Your ordinary disciples defeated our first disciples. What are you trying to say? I really want to tear your mouth off your face. These disciples are only riding the coattails of their seniors. They're not worthy, Ji Changqing said with a smile. Then, he set his teacup down before he solemnly asked, Comrade, I heard a disciple of Zhuyang sect, Linglong, has awakened the Phoenix bloodline. Is it true? Alarms rang in the sect master's mind immediately. He said, It's only a trace of the bloodline. Still, it's the Phoenix bloodline. This is something worth celebrating for humankind. She should be carefully nurtured. Although humans occupy the most territories in fertile lands, demons and devils constantly watch us. We can't neglect the young talents. We must provide them with the best cultivation resources and environments so that they'll swiftly grow up and become pillars of humanity. Only with that will we be able to continue to stand at the peak. Do you agree, comrade? Spoken like an elder from the sacred land of Qingyun. Your words are filled with concern for humans as a whole. You're too kind, the sect master continued to praise Gi Changqing. Inwardly, he cursed again. The fuck? Is he going to talk about his ideals and philosophies now? No, he must be up to no good. Is he trying to poach Linglong? That's it. Fuck. I really want to poke him to death with a toothpick now. No, my kindness is far cry from yours, Ji Changqing said with a smile as he waved his hand. Comrade, don't you agree Linglong should have access to the best resources? I'm sure you agree. In the eastern region, my sect is the place to cultivate. Comrade, for the sake of Linglong's growth and for the sake of humanity, why don't you let Linglong cultivate in Qingyun sect? Don't refuse me just yet. I don't want others to say Qingyun sect likes to bully others. On behalf of Qingyun sect, I'd like to give a set of low-rank artifacts if you agree to my request. I'm impressed by your righteousness, comrade, the sect master grimly said. You have countless geniuses in the sacred land. You even have disciples whose cultivation bases are higher than the Golden Core realm. Linglong will only be an ordinary disciple in your sect. Certainly, she won't have the sect's full attention. On the other hand, Zhuyang sect is able to wholly concentrate on nurturing Linglong. For Linglong's sake and humanity's sake, my sect is willing to support her growth. Ji Changqing sneered inwardly. He knew he would not win the argument if he continued with this topic. Hence, he swiftly switched tactics. What do you think of Mu Lei? His mother is a primal spirit elder, and he's a core disciple. He's not much different from a proud son. He's already at the 4th extreme of the Golden Core realm, and it's likely he'll reach the 9th extreme. The foundation he has laid ensures a bright future ahead. Most importantly, he possesses the bloodline of the Flood Dragon. Your disciple Linglong has the Phoenix bloodline. Tell me, in the entire eastern region, is there a better match than them? The dragon and the phoenix are symbols of good fortune. Should I send a low-grade artifact as a betrothal gift? If our sect is allied through marriage, it'll be a legendary and captivating story that'll spread far and wide in the eastern region. Linglong is still young, and she's still growing. I can't let her be tied down by marriage. The sect master spread his arms with a helpless expression as he said, "This will have to wait until she's an adult." Ji Changqing's expression darkened. Sect Master Yan Yan, in the entire eastern region, others would beg to have Qingyun sect disciples as their cultivation partners. If one of my disciples announces his intention to search for a cultivation partner, the girls in the eastern region would all rush to queue up. The sect master straightened his back and said in a firm tone, "Alas, those girls don't include those from our Jiyang sect. Mulei's mother is a powerful primal spirit cultivator. Her words hold weight in the sect. I came at her request. Do you know the consequences if you reject this proposal?" Ji Changqing said, "Jiyang sect may be small, but we won't stand being bullied," the sect master said firmly. Ji Changqing's expression soured immediately. He inhaled deeply before he said, "Everyone has free will. Before making a decision, why don't we ask Linglong for her opinion?" "Don't overstep your bounds, comrade." Flames of fury began to surge in the sect master's heart. "This is how things are done in the eastern region," Gai Changqing said with a smile. "No one can say for sure if Linglong wishes to stay in Juyang sect. Moreover, even with the marriage alliance, she'll still be considered a disciple of Juyang sect. I have to remind you that we're in Juyang sect's great hall," the sect master said thunderously. Ji Changqing raised his teacup unperturbed. "Sect master Yan Yan, there's no need to get angry. I'm trying to reason with you after all." The sect master forcefully suppressed his anger as he launched a barrage of curses at Ji Changqing inwardly. "You fucking bastard! Fuck your immortal ass! How dare you trample on my authority in Juyang sect? I really want to rip you into pieces. No, I wish I could throw you into a pen filled with sows so they can violate you 10,000 times over." When the sect master calmed down slightly, he sighed inwardly. "What can I do against this powerful and shameless bully? What should I do? No matter what, you can't take my disciple away. Otherwise, I'll send you to the sun." At this time, Linglong appeared outside the Great Hall. She had just sent Zhang Yu flying. Upon seeing this, a smile appeared on the sect master's face. However, he quickly replaced it with a sneer before he said, "I'll remember your words. I'll have to ask your sect master about them when I visit Qingyun sect. I want to ask if this is the way Qingyun sect does things. If this is really the way your sect does things, I'll have to visit the 100 Elixir Garden and Life and Death Sword sect." "You." Ji Changqing took a deep breath to calm down. Then he said, "Comrade, let me give you a piece of advice. If you reject this, Qingyun sect will be humiliated. Mulei and his mother would become laughingstocks in the sect. At that time, anyway, don't say I didn't warn you. Juyang sect is founded with the sun in mind. We might not have much, but we're ready to burn both jade and the common stone," the sect master said before he raised his teacup. At this time, the situation outside changed again. The sect master, who had been keeping an eye on the changes outside, chuckled before he said, "9 suns, nice." As expected of a peerless disciple who appeared only once every millennium, it seems like core disciples aren't all that great. "What?" Changqing's expression turned hideous as he hastily flew out of the hall. Mulei nearly snapped when he heard Linglong's mocking words. He was a core disciple of Qingyun sect and the son of a primal spirit grand elder. Everyone admired his talents and the other sects worshipped him. How could he endure being mocked? Mulei managed to rein in his temper. He decided to be honest, so he said, "Nice," as expected of someone who caught my attention. "Linglong, I'll give you a chance to be my cultivation partner." "Be your cultivation partner? Are you worthy?" Linglong retorted. She was inwardly surprised. Then, she stepped forward and said domineeringly, "Let's see what core disciples of Qingyun sect are made of." Linglong raised her hand. Mana surged immediately before a ball of flame appeared. Then, a fiery lightning bolt struck Mulei's head, sending him flying. "How dare you!" Mulei was infuriated. With a flurry of movements, the power in his body surged out. Soon after, the silhouette of a flood dragon appeared behind him. His strength seemed to surpass that of ordinary golden core cultivators. Rending claw. When Mulei cast the spell, the flood dragon behind it extended its claws and sailed toward Linglong. Mulei's strength shocked the disciples watching the fight. They instinctively retreated. 9 suns. Linglong was not flustered. A vision began to appear behind her. 9 suns rose and hovered in the air. The 9 balls of flames brought with them a heavy pressure. When she waved her hand, the 9 suns shot toward the dragon, easily shattering the dragon's claws. Bam! The battle was not over yet. The suns exploded and sent Mulei reeling from the impact. His tunic was ripped and his body was nearly destroyed. Ji Changqing flew out of the Great Hall and protected Mulei at the critical moment. Even then, Mulei was still covered in blood and burns. Mulei howled and struggled. His eyes were bloodshot as he screamed, "I'll kill you! I'll kill you!" Cut that out, Ji Changqing said sternly. Then, he looked at Zi Linglong and asked, will you join Qingyun sect? You'll definitely be a core disciple in the sect. You can learn many special abilities there. You'll have access to cultivation resources that are 1,000 times better than what you get here. No thanks, Zi Linglong said coldly. Very well. Ji Changqing grabbed Mulei and leaped into the air. At the same time he said, we're leaving. The other disciples followed Ji Changqing. The sect master frowned as he watched Ji Changqing. Something seemed to be troubling him. As Zi Linglong looked at their backs, she thought to herself, this is another deviation. I can't afford to wait any longer. Meanwhile, Jiang Ming's heart felt heavy. Qingyun sect. Qingyun sect was like the overlord of the eastern region. It was almost invincible. Mulei, Jiang Ming recalled the other party's vicious expression before he left. He flipped open the human path records. Swoosh. Name Mulei, gender male, cultivation base, 4th extreme golden core realm. Background. Core disciple of Qingyun sect. Relationship -91 innate talent, 8 stars, primary flood dragon bloodline, status, came to Juyang sect determined and confident about winning but was badly defeated and driven back. His pride has gotten the best of him. Before leaving Juyang sect, he swore to get Linglong back no matter what. He plans to capture everyone on Chuyang Peak and torture them while he makes her watch. He wants her to know the consequences of offending him. After obtaining the power from her phoenix bloodline, he plans to torture her to death. Shit. Killing intent rose in Jiang Ming's heart immediately. Even if the sect master of Qingyun sect makes a move, I'll grind his bones to dust, let alone a Qingyun sect disciple. The other disciples eventually left and returned to their respective peaks. All of them would be talking about today's incident for a long time to come. Qingyun sect disciples came to challenge the Tower of Trials. One of them even cleared the tower. Following that, they challenged the first disciples of the 9 peaks, and 8 of the first disciples were defeated. They had been powerless to fight back. However, a female disciple from Chuyang Peak, a peak that most of them disdained and often ridiculed, stepped forward and nearly killed Qingyun sect core disciple. The disciples of Juyang sect were both shocked and embarrassed by this. Chuyang Peak, senior brother, was I amazing? Zi Linglong asked as she hugged Jiang Ming's arm and swung it. Zi Linglong was now close to 1.7 meters tall. She had snow-white skin, a sweet face, a pair of beautiful eyes, flowing hair, a fine body, and a pair of long legs. She looked like a painting that had come to life. Of course, Jiang Ming gave her a thumbs up.
Qingyun sect is known as the sacred land of the eastern region. Their core disciples are very gifted, and yet you almost killed one of them. You're more than amazing.
A troubled expression appeared on Zi Linglong's face as she asked, will I get in trouble for beating him up so hard, senior brother? Don't worry, it'll be fine. Qingyun sect's experts won't come seeking revenge just because we beat up one of the core disciples. If they did, they wouldn't be known as the sacred land anymore, Jiang Ming said. Inwardly, he thought to himself, don't worry, I'll head over there tonight and kill them. Alright, Zi Linglong's eyes lit up upon hearing Jiang Ming's words. Since you're now at the Foundation Establishment realm, no one will dare to call you mediocre anymore. I'm sure no one in the sect reached the Foundation Establishment realms as quickly as you did. It's all thanks to your Foundation Establishment pills. Zi Linglong giggled. I'll make sure to get more of them for you. In that case, I must make sure to stay on your good side, junior sister. Alright, wait here. I'll cook up a feast for you. I'll give you a hand, senior brother. Laughter rang in the mountain once again. Guhai felt reassured when he saw his disciples were still as close as ever. He stroked his beard as he enjoyed his tea. He would let the sect master worry about the repercussions of offending Mulei and Ji Changqing. The sun that emerged after it stopped raining quickly disappeared again. The day was almost over. When night fell, the moon hung in its rightful spot in the east. The 2 disciples admired the moon under the pavilion. They had a good view. It looked as though they could see to the ends of the world from where they were seated. The mountain breeze that carried the sweet fragrance of the flowers caressed their faces. What do you want to do in the future, senior brother? Me? I'll stay on Chuyang Peak and cook for you and master. I'll spend my time cultivating, admiring the flowers and the moon. I'll live a carefree life. What about you, Linglong? I'll stay with you, junior brother. Whoever dares to disturb your peace, I'll send them running. Jiang Ming laughed. That sounds great. When it was close to midnight, Jiang Ming sent Linglong back to her room. Zi Linglong's eyes flashed as she sat cross-legged on the bed. I remember Qingyun sect's Mu Lei. At that time, he cultivated the furnace technique and devoured many geniuses' bloodline foundations to raise his strength. I didn't expect to catch his attention after awakening my phoenix bloodline ahead of time, just as well. I'll kill him when the chance presents itself. Although many things have deviated due to certain events, the general trend remains the same. The devil sects should be making a move within 10 years. There's also Bishui sect. I wish to stay by junior brother's side forever, but after a few days I should increase my strength again. My foundation has stabilized and I'm at the 9th extreme golden core realm now. With this, I've already surpassed my past self. With this, I no longer have to concern myself with certain things. Linglong mulled over her current situation and tried to imagine the future. She could not help but recall her past life as well. In the past, she had grown up happily under the protection of her master and senior brother. Everything was fine until the Yinmo sect attacked, plunging the sect into chaos. At that time, her senior brother brought her along and fled for their lives. He experienced many hardships trying to protect her and nearly lost his life on several occasions. Moreover, Linglong's eyes brimmed with tears as she recalled the past. However, despite the tears, her eyes shone with determination as well. She exhaled slowly and regulated her breathing before she continued refining her mana. Jiang Ming stood at the window of his bedroom and looked at the world that was bathed in the moon's silver light. Swoosh! The human path records flipped open. Name: Muley. Gender: male. Cultivation base: 4th extreme golden core realm. Background: core disciple of Qingyun sect. Relationship: -93. Innate talent: 8 stars. Primary flood dragon bloodline. Status: since he left Jiang sect, he has been cursing Linglong, Chuyang Peak and Jiang sect. At this moment, he's tending to his injuries on a mountain 30,000 miles northwest of Jiang sect. 30,000 miles? That's quite a distance away. Jiang Ming considered his options. When he saw the relationship value had dropped another 2 points, he only sneered. I've never even spoken to you before, but you hate so much. Jiang Ming flipped to the next page that displayed Ji Changqing's information. Name: Ji Changqing. Gender: male. Cultivation base: nascent soul realm. Background: elder of Qingyun sect. Relationship: -33. Innate talent: 8 stars. Status: he had to retreat and bring Muley and the others away. He resents the sect master of Jiang sect for failing to appreciate his kindness and favor. He decided to destroy, if not kill, Jiang sect master when the chance presents itself. He grew even angrier when he thought about how Jiang sect master refused him and humiliated Qingyun Peak. He thinks Jiang sect master has a death wish. Moreover, he really wanted to kill Linglong earlier for almost killing a core disciple of Qingyun sect. He would have done so if they were not in Jiang sect. Currently, he's watching over Muley as Muley recuperates on a mountain 30,000 miles from Jiang sect. At the same time, he's also thinking about how he could spice the story up about how despicable Jiang sect is when he recounts them to Mu Shuiyun, Muley's mother. You didn't even look at me, and I don't think you even know me, but our relationship value is -33. Jiang Ming felt quite speechless. A core disciple and elder of the sacred land should be tolerant. Why were these two people so petty? Were they so used to living an easy life that they could not tolerate any setback? Subsequently, Jiang Ming expanded his senses and noticed his master was tempering his mana. His junior sister was cultivating as well. Then, he activated a formation. If his master or junior sister came looking for him, they would think he's cultivating due to the activated formation. Junior sister might cultivate outside the sect soon. I can't allow someone like Muley, who harbors ill intentions toward her, to live. Jiang Ming stepped forward into the spatial network and vanished into thin air like a phantom. When he reappeared, he had just stepped past the grand formation and arrived outside the mountain. When he took another step forward again, it was without ripples or disturbance in the air. He vanished again and reappeared 1,000 miles away in just a blink of an eye. He used his great Akasa steps and traveled through the spatial network, which provided stealth and agility that greatly surprised him. If I can completely master the space Samboda, I'll definitely be able to travel through different spaces. It'd be like teleportation. Jiang Ming finally came to a stop when he was 100 miles away from his destination. He saw Ji Changqing and the others in the distance. As though he had turned into a completely different person, the mana surged in his body as devil chi rose from his body. Jiang Ming said gruffly, "There they are." Then, he laughed maniacally for a moment before he said, "I'll kill all of you today, Ji Changqing, for destroying my sect in the past." Jiang Ming was not confident he would be able to take all of them down in one fell swoop. He decided to disguise himself to hide his identity since he was about to face experts with a powerful background. The best choice was to disguise himself as a member of the Devil sect. After all, he could change the nature of his mana at will. Jiang Ming howled when he appeared before the group from Qingyun sect. The devils will destroy the heavens with 1,000 palm strikes. Jiang Ming sent out waves of energy with his palm, bringing chaos to the place. Devil Ki permeated the air immediately and shrouded the surroundings. Countless ink-color palm seals appeared in the sky and rained down on the mountain like a storm. The powerful impact shook the void and rippled out into the surroundings. A surviving member of the Devil sect, Ji Changqing frowned. Killing intent had only begun to surge from his body when he sensed the waves of diabolical energy. His expression turned grim immediately. He spat out a golden orb that swiftly expanded into a barrier that covered everyone. Boom! The sound of an explosion rang in the air as the torrent of palm strikes landed on the light barrier. Cracks began to form on the barrier immediately. "Stop! Colors drained from Gi Changqing's face as he mobilized his mana to boost the mid-grade defensive item. Muley and the other disciples were frightened. They had never witnessed a battle of such proportions from a close distance before. The turbulent and mighty waves of energy made them feel as though they were a dinghy stranded in the middle of the sea on a stormy night. Muley no longer kept up the appearance he had when he was in Juyang sect. After all, among the sect members, he did not have to worry about keeping up appearance. Crack. A crisp noise rang from the barrier. This is bad. Ji Changqing's expression turned even grimmer as more and more cracks began to appear on his barrier. He could feel it swiftly weakening. Just as he was about to reach for Muley, his barrier shattered. Without any hesitation, he hurriedly retreated after he grabbed Muley. At the same time, he flicked his sleeve and carried the other 9 disciples before tossing them into the distance. He did not have the time to look after them now. Boom. A thunderous explosion rang in the air after Gi Changqing's barrier shattered. The force seemed capable of leveling the mountain. Following that, Jiang Ming howled again. I can't believe I'm so powerful. Jiang Ming's lit up. His blood was boiling at this moment. The attack earlier was a diabolical spell that the system had rewarded him with. It was only an ordinary spell. It could not compare to special abilities at all. However, it was capable of breaking Gi Changqing's barrier. This alone proved its terrifying power. Following that, he swept his gaze across the 9 disciples who had been abandoned by Gi Changqing. 3 of them had exploded into a mist of blood and another 3 had fallen to their deaths in the distance. The remaining 3 survivors who were grievously injured landed in a different spot. Yang Ming was about to kill them when an idea appeared in his head. I shouldn't kill all of them. I should leave a few witnesses behind. With a flash of movement, Jiang Ming chased after the fleeing Ji Changqing. He used the Great Akasa Steps and used the spatial network. With that, he traveled at top speed. He closed the distance of 1,000 meters in just a blink of an eye. Soon enough, he saw Gi Changqing suddenly turning around and tossing Muley aside. This range was close enough for Jiang Ming's most powerful attack. If Gi Changqing abandoned Muley now, Muley would surely die. Who are you? Ji Changqing shouted. At the same time, streaks of light weaved a protective barrier around him. I'm an elder of Qingyun's sect. If you make an enemy out of me, it's akin to making an enemy out of Qingyun's sect. You should think carefully before you act. Jiang Ming laughed maniacally. His laughter traveled 1,000 miles away. He said in an insufferably arrogant tone, I told you that I'm from the devil's sect, didn't I? Others might fear Qingyun's sect because it's a sacred land, but that's not the case for me. I remember Qingyun's sect contributed to the destruction of my sect back then. Now that I found one of you, how can I let you live? We swept through the entire eastern region back then and eradicated every single one of you. Every few years, our disciples would also scour the lands and weed out survivors. Even if you manage to recover slightly after all these years, what can you do? Do you know what it means for you now that you've shown yourself? This means there'll be another hunt for the devils in the eastern region. I've already cast a spell and sent word back to Qingyun's sect. You should leave now before it's too late. Gi Changqing said with a sneer. Since I've already revealed myself, I can't possibly leave without doing anything, Jiang Ming said as he stepped forward. The void distorted and rippled around him when he moved. Moreover, didn't it occur to you that the devil's sect must be prepared since I dare to show myself? We'll roam the lands once again. Remember, the person who'll kill you today is Luo Ho of Yinmo sect. Now die. Jiang Ming did not restrain his oppressive aura as he looked at Ji Changqing disdainfully. As soon as his voice fell, he made a move. In just a blink of an eye, he appeared next to Gi Changqing. He punched Ji Changqing with an earth-shattering force. However, he discovered that his fist went through his target's body. An illusion? Jiang Ming frowned. Exactly. Ji Changqing said from 1,000 miles away. His eyebrows were furrowed, and his expression was solemn. At some point, without Jiang Ming noticing, he had brought out a sword that emitted a purple light. The sword seemed to hold enough power to level the mountains and part the sea. This is Purple Cloud, a high-grade artifact, Ji Changqing said as he pointed the tip of the sword to the sky. A character appeared before dark clouds began to gather above him. Lightning flashed as thunder resounded in the sky. Following that, a huge vortex appeared, churning in the sky. 9 heavens imperial lightning, strike. Ji Changqing brandished the sword before a bolt of lightning struck at Jiang Ming. The lightning bolt was extremely swift and it seemed to have locked onto Jiang Ming's aura, making it impossible for him to evade. Nevertheless, he vanished into thin air and reappeared a distance away. He looked at the sky and exclaimed, "Is the lightning special ability that Qingyun's sect is known for? Its might is truly something to behold." Yang Ming had read about this from the books in the sect's collection. He had read once it was cast, there was no escaping it. The target could only face it directly. The 9 Heavens Imperial Lightning was a famous special ability. At the advanced stage, the entire world would turn into a sea of lightning. It was like a divine punishment that would strike fear into the hearts of those who witnessed it. You've gained insight into the space Sambodha. When realization dawned on Ji Changqing, chills ran up his spine. Comrade Luo Huo, are we really going to fight to the death? I have no quarrel with you. I wasn't involved in the great battle that involved the whole world 1500 years ago. At that time, I don't think you're even old enough to participate in the battle, right? Why must you be stubborn then? Some things never change. So-called righteous cultivators are still as hypocritical as ever. You'll kill us when it's in your favor but run away when things go south. When you can't escape, you spout grand-sounding nonsense. You'd even bend your knees and lower your head, Jiang Ming said contemptuously in a thunderous voice that seemed to reverberate across the heavens. We devils cultivate without restraining ourselves and live happily without restraining our desires. We have clear beliefs and we do as we please. I feel unhappy when I see you, therefore I'll kill you since you make me unhappy. Die. Jiang Ming mobilized his diabolical power and charged forward. Slice the heavens, part the heavens and the earth. At this time, purple cloud exploded with light as a terrifying sword Sambota shot out, seemingly capable of rending heaven and earth or cleaving the moon into two. Boom! Alas, Gi Changqing's attack was destroyed by Jiang Ming's countless palm strikes. Your slice the heaven technique isn't as powerful as you made it seem, Jiang Ming said as he laughed maniacally again. He did not restrain his energy and let it rampage, shattering the protective barrier around Ji Changqing. He truly looked like a devil lord at this moment. Lingering specters, follow the shadows. Ji Changqing kept throwing up blood after being hit. If it were not for the protective item he was wearing, he would have long died. The devil's unrestrained energy and strength caused him to shudder. He quickly cast a spell. Clones began to appear around him. It was difficult to tell which was the real him. Moreover, he could switch places with the clones. I let you use your skill earlier. Do you think you'll succeed this time? Jiang Ming sneered. He waved his hand and used spatial energy to destroy the clones. Ji Changqing fell. A horrified expression could be seen on his face. Die! A terrifying energy burst forth from Jiang Ming. He sealed the area with the first palm strike. Then, he destroyed Ji Changqing's defensive artifact and protective barrier with his second strike. With the third palm strike, he destroyed Ji Changqing's soul. Jiang Ming, who was immersed in his role, laughed maniacally. The devils will have dominion over the human world. Then he sped toward the fleeing Mu Lei. He cackled as he said, you must be rather important since an elder of King Yun's sect went out of his way to protect you. I won't let you get away, brat. Come here. Mu Lei was shocked. After Ji Changqing tossed him to the side, he had hurriedly fled. When he sensed the terrifying waves of energy at his back, he felt as though death was creeping up on him. At this moment, it meant nothing that he was a core disciple of the sacred land or that he was a son of a primal spirit cultivator. When he turned around and saw Ji Changqing's soul being destroyed, he was shocked that his eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. Then, when Jiang Ming's wicked laughter rang in the air, goosebumps erupted across his flesh and chills ran up his spine. Run! 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 Mu Lei repeated this word over and over again like a mantra in his mind. He brought out talismans and ignited them with his mana before he brought his artifact out. He drew an arc in the air, traveling tens of miles away in just an instant. Alas, to an expert who could kill Ji Changqing, this distance was nothing. Although he had a head start, he only managed to travel several hundred miles. At this moment, Mu Lei saw two figures atop a distant mountain in front of him. Their clothes fluttered in the air under the moonlight. He could sense a profound energy from the duo, and his eyes brightened immediately. He immediately changed course and flew toward them as he called out, Seniors, I'm Mu Lei, a core disciple of Qing Yun's sect. My mother is Elder Mu Shuiyun. A devil is chasing after me to kill me. Please help me. On the mountaintop, the two individuals were playing chess under the moon earlier. The fragrance of tea and wine permeated the air around them. They chatted as they played. However, when they sensed a violent fluctuation of energy in the distance, they rose to their feet immediately. Soon after, they saw a figure flying toward them. They were about to turn and leave but stopped in their tracks upon hearing Mu Lei's words and exchanged a look. Meanwhile, Jiang Ming finally caught up. He sneered. This kid is really lucky. He's about to die, but two people suddenly showed up at this place. They're clearly going to protect him as well. At this moment, the white-clad elder standing on the left cupped his fists together and said loudly as his sleeves fluttered in the wind, Comrade, as humans, we're prone to making mistakes. We should forgive when we can. There's no need to lower yourself and make things difficult for a junior. I'm Sima Lang of the Eastern Region's Sima family. Following that, Sima Lang flashed a smile at Mu Lei. Mu Lei sighed in relief. He wisely chose not to say anything else except, Senior Sima, your reputation precedes you. Sima Lang seemed overjoyed. Jiang Ming's eyebrow twitched. He remembered that he had once read a book about the forces in the Eastern region. He sneered when he recalled the person in front of him. The Sima family is one of the top 10 major forces in the Eastern region. Get lost, Sima Lang, and I'll spare your life. Otherwise, this will be your burial ground, and your family will follow in your footsteps shortly. Devils were always unrestrained, cruel, violent, and vindictive. Whoosh. The human path records flipped open. Name Sima Lang. Gender: male, cultivation base, Dao Seed realm. Background: Elder of the Sima family relationship, -87 and 8 talent, 7 stars. Status. After receiving an invitation by Lan Shi, an elder of Bishui sect, he secretly came to investigate the situation in the eastern region. He wanted to find out how the Bishui sect is going to avoid persecution if they move here. At the same time, they'll also have to pick a faction to establish themselves. When he saw Mulei being chased, he was pleasantly surprised. He's prepared to save Mulei. 87? Wow. He's going to kill just to curry favor with Mulei? In any case, he thinks too highly of himself. Invitation from Elder Lan Shi of Bishui sect? They're moving here? Where are they from then? Overseas? Jiang Ming found the word invitation interesting. Naturally, when Bishui sect was mentioned, he remembered Momo from Jiang Peak. At this time, Sima Lang scoffed. You're going to bury me here and kill my family? The devils never change, you're all wicked to the bones. Have no fear, Comrade Mu. Comrade Lan and I will protect you today. Comrade Mu is a core disciple of the Qingyun sect, the sacred land. He's a proud son, and his name will one day be known throughout the eastern region and the entire world. I won't let this fellow threaten him. Comrade Sima, since we encountered this devil, we should work together to get rid of him to protect Comrade Mu, Lan Shi said. Mu Lei was overjoyed. He hastily thanked them. Thank you, seniors. I'll remember this favor. When I return, I'll surely tell my mother and the sect master about this. You'll be esteemed guests of Qingyun sect. We're not doing this for you to repay us, Sima Lang said as he shook his head. Nevertheless, he could barely conceal the look of delight in his eyes. It's our duty to rid the world of evil, Lan Shi said as he stroked his beard. Saving you is only part of the process, Comrade Mu. It's enough that you serve us a cup of tea when we visit Qingyun sect in the future. Mu Lei thumped his chest and said vehemently, I'll surely prepare grand gifts for you. Jiang Ming looked at the affectionate display in front of him speechlessly. Are they really trying to forge a relationship now? Are they even taking me seriously? Swoosh. The human path records flipped open. Name Lan Shi, gender male, cultivation base, nascent soul realm. Background, elder of Bishui sect. Relationship, -92 innate talent, 8 stars. Status, the situation overseas is tumultuous. He has a vague feeling that a disaster is about to befall them. Hence his sect plans to move to the land of Shenzhou. After years of planning, the sect has finally seen some results. He came at the sect's orders to contact the Sima family's elder, who's one of the sect's people, to get the lay of the land. The sect's also planning to get rid of a faction and to claim it for their own. When he heard Mu Lei stating his identity earlier, he was incredibly happy that he was being presented with a golden chance. He's prepared to kill the devil. What the? Jiang Ming did not care that Lan Shi was a nascent soul cultivator, or that their relationship value was -92. But the amount of information packed under Lan Shi's status was overwhelming. The situation overseas is tumultuous. Only a handful of disciples in Zhuyang sect like talking about the overseas nation. Not even his master Gu Hai knew much about the situation overseas. He read in the books that the seas were mostly infested with sea demons. It was a treacherous place. This was especially true for the places that were further away where nothing but barren lands existed. The furthest the disciples would go were places that were close to the sea where the risks were relatively low. When Jiang Ming learned that Momo was a Bishui sect disciple, he had a lot of questions. Now many of his questions were answered. She was likely a scout. To be honest, he was more shocked by the bravery of the Bishui sect. It was one thing to move the sect here, but to destroy a faction to establish their dominance? Aren't they worried that we'd team up and fight them? They clearly think that they're superior to us. Well, as long as they leave Zhuyang sect alone. At this moment, the two men stood in front of Mu Li with surging killing intent and imposing airs. One of them wielded a sword while a bell hovered above the other one. Jiang Ming grinned. You're sure you're going to protect him and stand in my way? With the bell hanging above him, Sima Lang said righteously, everyone will kill devils when they encounter them. You can choose to leave or die. Why are we still talking? Let's just kill him. Lan Shi had a profound cultivation base and a powerful weapon. He was confident that he could kill the devil before him. He wanted to flaunt his strength to impress Mu Lei. The boundless seas will topple the universe. This sword will flip the oceans and cut down the mountain. Lan Shi brandished his sword. There was a flash as a vision of waves appeared in the sky. It was like a tsunami pulling back just before it crashed down with its boundless might. Jiang Ming narrowed his eyes that flashed with killing intent as he thought to himself, you're even more eager than I am to act. Who's the devil? Well, I can hardly reason with a fool who deserves to die. Forget it. Die. Jiang Ming only uttered one word before he made his move. With a single palm strike, Jiang Ming broke the firmament's character and shattered the sword's radiance. Another wave of diabolical energy surged and struck Lan Shi, the nascent soul expert, killing him on the spot. It was done cleanly without fanfare. Sima Lang was thunderstruck upon seeing this. Soon his shock was replaced by endless fear. He shuddered before he forced a smile on his face that looked uglier than if he were to cry. Then he said, Senior, this is all a misunderstanding. It's a misunderstanding, Senior. Misunderstanding. Jiang Ming sneered. He might only be at the Dao Seed realm, but his accumulations, the purity of his mana, and the vastness of his power had already broken the rules of old. Even he was not sure how powerful he was now. When he had fought Gi Changqing earlier, he did not use any special skills. He only used ordinary skills and less than 1/10 of his actual combat strength when he killed Ji Changqing. One had to remember that Ji Changqing was not an ordinary cultivator. Ji Changqing was from the sacred land and was skilled in spells and special abilities. Apart from that, he only needed to be slightly serious to kill Lan Shi in just an instant. I'm fucking powerful now. I wonder if I can kill a primal spirit expert with my current strength. Jiang Ming's ambitions had grown after these battles. He could kill enemies who were one realm ahead of him, but he did think this was anything to be proud of. He would only be proud of himself if he could kill a primal spirit cultivator. What must I do for you to spare me, senior? Sima Lang was on the verge of crying at this moment. Fuck, what should I do? Sima Lang cursed inwardly. He had thought that with Lan Shi by his side he would be able to defend himself even if they could not kill the devil. Alas, Lan Shi proved to be useless. Lan Shi was killed almost as soon as the battle started. Senior, I'll give you everything I have. Please spare me. Sima Lang threw his dignity away and fell to his knees in the air. Upon seeing this, the despairing Mu Lei was shocked. You're an expert, for fuck's sake. Why are you kneeling? Shit, you have no fucking dignity. Following that, Mu Lei said in a trembling voice, I'm a core disciple of Qingyun sect. My mother is a primal spirit cultivator. My patriarch is Dong Tian. If you kill me, you'll be hunted down even if you run to the end of the world. Jiang Ming reduced Sima Lang into a mist of blood with just a palm strike. Mu Lei stiffened. Who will save you now? Jiang Ming asked frostily. He raised his hand. Devil Chi surged within a 10-mile radius. Jiang Ming was about to kill Mu Lei when he saw a streak of golden light shot out of Mu Lei's forehead before forming a silhouette of a person. It burst forth with tremendous power and blocked Jiang Ming's palm strike. Who dares to harm my son? I'll make your life a living hell, a charming woman shouted as soon as she appeared. She had insufferably arrogant air about her, and her killing intent surged to the high heavens as soon as she appeared. This woman was none other than Mu Shuiyun, Mu Lei's mother and an expert of Qingyun sect. Mother! Mu Lei was overjoyed. Then he pointed at Jiang Ming and viciously said, It's him! He killed Elder Ji and the other disciples. He wants to kill me as well. Kill him, mother. No, capture him alive. I want to torture him for 100 years. Torturing him for 100 years is too light of a punishment for someone who tried to kill you. After I catch him, I'm going to torture him for 10,000 years. Mu Shuiyun said, Stand back, Lei. I'll capture him now. Be careful, mother. Mu Lei retreated into the distance. Jiang Ming's lips twitched when he saw Mu Shuiyun. Damn it, they just keep coming. Is Mu Lei truly favored by the heavens? Fuck, I'll definitely kill him today. Swoosh. The human path records appeared and flipped to a new page. Name Mu Shuiyun. Gender, female. Cultivation base, primal spirit. Background, elder of Qingyun sect. Relationship, -98. Innate talent, 9 stars. Water spirit. Body, status, she's the former holy daughter of Qingyun sect. Her looks are exceptional. She's arrogant, obstinate, and proud. In the past, she was captured by a flood dragon while she was cultivating at the sea and went missing for 6 months. When she returned to the sect, it was discovered that she was with child, but the father of the child remains unknown. As a result, she was stripped of her holy daughter title. She dotes on her son greatly. When she heard the rumors of a disciple with the Phoenix bloodline in Juyang sect, she sent an elder to ask for the disciple's hand in marriage, with the goal of extracting the Phoenix bloodline's power for her son. She had planted a strand of her primal spirit in her son's sea of consciousness for the sake of safety. She was cultivating when her son awakened her from her cultivation. When her son's under threat, her primal spirit awakened. Wow. A relationship value of -98. How much does she hate me exactly? Jiang Ming was shocked by Mu Shuiyun's innate talent of 9 stars as well. She had a water spirit body, which meant that she had a high affinity for water techniques. Many of Jiang Ming's questions were answered when he saw Mu Shuiyun's status. No wonder Mu Lei took his mother's surname. Mu Lei was an illegitimate child born after his mother was violated. As expected, Mu Shuiyun was not simple. She was once the holy daughter and was now a primal spirit expert. With her cultivation base at the primal spirit realm, she could easily rule over an area. Yang Ming was slightly excited at the thought of fighting such an individual. However, he also felt slightly disappointed that this was just a strand of her primal spirit. While Jiang Ming was deep in his thoughts, he saw Mu Shuiyun charging toward him. Primal spirit heart sword, destroy. Mu Shuiyun acted decisively. When she learned that Gi Changqing had died, she knew that her opponent would not be a pushover. She was prepared to sacrifice this strand of her primal spirit here. She did not hesitate and used her most powerful skill as soon as she attacked. Mu Shuyan spun, bursting with a dazzling light that seemed like it would not dim no matter what. Even the moon that shone high in the sky paled in comparison. Following that, the golden light formed a sword. It was a highly concentrated body of energy. In just a moment, it arrived near Jiang Ming's forehead. Jiang Ming's eyes widened as an expression of fear appeared on his face. He hurriedly stepped onto the Akasa network and retreated. You mastered a spatial ability? Alas, you're up against my primal spirit heart sword. It's locked onto your aura so you won't be able to escape. Mu Shiyin said confidently, with my primal spirit in sword form, its speed is peerless. Based on what I'd sensed, you're not at the primal spirit realm yet. You might be powerful, but you won't be able to defend against a primal spirit attack. I'll shatter your sea of consciousness, crush your Dao seeds, and destroy your cultivation base before I imprison you. After that, I'll whip you every day to my heart's content. After Jiang Ming stepped into his spatial network to dodge the attack, his mana surged within his sea of consciousness. He was about to cast his great Akasa formless sword chi when an idea appeared in his mind. Following that, Yang Ming stored his human path records in his sea of consciousness, just in case. Then, he appeared in midair, seeming as though he had no intention of dodging. Swoosh! The primal spirit heart sword shot into Yang Ming's forehead and stabbed at the barrier around his sea of consciousness. Mu Shuiyun had assumed it would be easy to breach the barrier, but the sword seemed to have hit an impenetrable iron wall at this moment. The barrier only shook in response to the sword's attack. Not only did the sword fail to leave a crack on the barrier, but the barrier caused the sword to explode as well. My sea of consciousness is exceptionally tough. Yang Ming sighed in relief inwardly. He had been looking for an opportunity to test his sea of consciousness defenses for a long time now. Even if his barrier did not hold, his sea of consciousness would still be protected by the human path records. Although the human path records did not have any powerful abilities, it gained some functionalities after his cultivation base improved. It was easy for it to protect his sea of consciousness. Jiang Ming nodded, satisfied with the result. Impossible. How can your sea of consciousness be so tough? How could it withstand my special ability? Mu Shuiyin shrieked. Following that, she said threateningly, leave my son alone. If you kill him, I swear I'll hunt you down and tear you into pieces. You won't be able to run from me. Not only that, I'll kill everyone related to you. I'll leave no survivors. As Jiang Ming listened to Mu Shuiyun's threats, he sensed the fragments of the primal spirit floating outside his sea of consciousness. With this discovery, another idea appeared in his mind. Swoosh! The human path records pulled the fragments of the primal spirit into his sea of consciousness. In the next moment, fragmented memories and several special abilities appeared in his mind. The fragmented memories were mostly about her son and her cultivation. They were of no value to him. On the contrary, the special abilities caught his attention. Jiang Ming put the matter of the special abilities aside for now, and looked at Mu Lei, who was watching the battle from a distance with a sneer on his face. It was not difficult to tell that Mu Lei was likely fantasizing about the 1,008 ways he could torture him. Jiang Ming flew over. How can you smile when your mother is dead? The smile on Mu Lei's face stiffened immediately. Then, he said in a horrified tone, impossible. My mother is a primal spirit expert. Do you think primal spirit experts are impervious to death? Jiang Ming said tonelessly, I wonder if anyone else is going to show up to rescue you. Let's see if your luck holds out against my palm strike. With just a palm strike, Mu Lei was quickly reduced to a mist of blood. Following that, Jiang Ming destroyed all the evidence. This feels great, Jiang Ming thought to himself, feeling much more at ease now that he had eliminated a potential threat. Jiang Ming did not leave immediately. He released more devil chi until it covered an area of 100 miles in just a blink of an eye. At the same time, black flames surged around his body. He was using the black flames to get rid of any potential risks or evidence that he might have missed. Subsequently, he cleansed his spoils with mana and removed whatever traces were left before he finally felt more at ease. Jiang Ming saw 3 surviving disciples from Qingyun's sect trembling in the corner, but he ignored them. He activated his great Akasa steps and returned to Chuyang Peak after taking a huge detour. Almost dawn. Mu Shuiyun hurried to the scene of the battle. Lei, my son, Mu Shuiyun cried out as she searched for him to no avail. Her powerful energy distorted the air around her, causing a meteorological phenomenon in the sky that ravaged the mountainous terrain. When she found the 3 surviving Qingyun sect disciples, she questioned them about what had transpired. After learning about the ins and outs of the event, she cried out in a voice that held indescribable sorrow and hatred. Luo Ho, I'll kill you, I'll kill you, I'll kill you. When she calmed down slightly, she began to search for traces of her son's murderer. She started by searching the epicenter of the battle, inside a room at Chuyang Peak. Swoosh! The human path records flipped open. Name Mu Shuiyun, gender female, cultivation base, primal spirit realm background. Elder of Qingyun Sect. Relationship, 0 innate talent 9 stars. Water spirit body. Status, she awakened from her cultivation completely when a fragment of her primal spirit was destroyed. She rushed to the site of the battle and found 3 surviving disciples from Qingyun Sect. She's now searching for traces of Luo Ho and traces of the devil's sex in a frenzy. The relationship value is now 0. It used to be -98. Does this have something to do with me disguising myself as Luo Hu when I fought a strand of her primal spirit? Her hatred must be directed at Luo Hu. She doesn't know I am, after all. Jiang Ming smiled. After putting away the human path records, he began to go through his spoils. He had gained many items from this battle. There was the high-grade artifact, Purple Cloud from Ji Changqing and Lan Shi's high-grade sword, Blue Crystal. He had also obtained several other artifacts and dozens of weapons. Apart from that, he also had many spiritual crystals. A middle-grade spiritual crystal held 100 times more power than a low-grade spiritual crystal, while a high-grade spiritual crystal held 100 times more power than a middle-grade spiritual crystal. The spiritual crystals he obtained this time were equivalent to 100 high-grade spiritual crystals. This was considered a huge number of crystals. Villains are always rewarded with riches. I feel like I've gotten rich overnight, Jiang Ming exclaimed to himself. After sorting his spoils and putting them away, he began to look at the special abilities he gained from the fragment of Mu Shuiyun's primal spirit. Primal Spirit Heart Sword was an attack using one's primal spirit. The requirements to cultivate it were high. After studying it, he finally understood that if Mu Shuiyun were to unleash it in person, he might not have been able to block it with his Sea of Consciousness. The Heart Sword was capable of slashing primal spirits and destroying one's will. It would strike suddenly and could not be evaded. Indeed, it was a powerful move. Then, there was the 9 Heavens Imperial Lightning. Ji Changqing had used this spell previously. He had called upon the power of lightning. It was a terrifying sight to behold. However, Jiang Ming could tell Ji Changqing had yet to completely master the spell. Wood Dragon. This was a wood element special ability. It could conjure up trees that would then turn into dragons. It was a move that combined both offense and defense. Slice the Heaven's Sword technique was also one that Ji Changqing had used. Its power seemed capable of parting heaven and earth. Then, there was the Heaven's Suppression Divine Seal. It was an immense seal that could suppress all things. Although it was just a fragment of her primal spirit, I gained 5 techniques from it. They might not be able to compare to my Great Akasa Formless Sword Key, Great Akasa Steps, or 9 Divine Mountain Treasures, but they'll still be powerful moves after I master them. There's no denying these special abilities are unique. With them, I have more weapons in my arsenal. Jiang Ming smiled, satisfied. Name Jiang Ming Cultivation Base. Dao Seed Realm Cultivation Method. Grand Path Almighty Method Sutra Spell. Primal Spirit Heart Sword. 10,000 Sword Technique. Basic Formations, Basic Talismans, Basic Pills, and Basic Artifacts. Special Abilities. Great Akasa Formless Sword Chi. Great Akasa Steps. 9 Divine Mountain Treasures, 9 Heavens Imperial Lightning, Wood Dragon, Slice the Heavens, and Heaven's Suppression Divine Seal. Innate Talent, Immortal, Primary Taoist Body Item, Human Path Records, 3 Shadowless Needles, High-Grade Artifact, Purple Cloud High-Grade Artifact, Blue Crystal High-Grade Artifact, Noble Robe Low-Grade Artifact, Flowing Cloud Sword Top-Grade Artifact. He nodded in satisfaction when he saw the changes in his information. While Jiang Ming was happy, there was someone who could not even sleep. Mu Shuiyun quickly spread the word about the re-emergence of the devil sects. With that, it did not take long before experts arrived at the site of the battle. They tried to glean information from their surroundings with their special abilities and spells. Alas, they did not find anything noteworthy. All they could sense was the extremely pure devil key. After that, they did a sweep and found a base of the Yinmo sect that was located 10,000 miles away. It was hidden in the mountains and was concealed by a grand formation. Needless to say, the grand formation did nothing to hide the base from the experts. Just like that, another battle took place at dawn. It was a bitter battle since both parties were not prepared for it. The Sima family. The destruction of Sima Lang's soul caused the head of the Sima family to lose sleep. He felt extremely uneasy. He was aware of the Sima family's connection to Bishui sect, so he knew if the matter was exposed, the other forces would definitely work together to deal with the Sima family. At that time, the Sima family would be known for trying to ally with a powerful sect and would be called the Thief of the Eastern Region on a remote island located in the East Sea, the base camp of Bishui sect. The sect was alerted as soon as Lan Shi died. One of the experts hurriedly contacted the other members in the eastern region Shenzhou and told them to look into the matter. Meanwhile, Jiang Ming was unaware of the chain of events that were unfolding as a result of his killing spree. When it was dawn, Jiang Ming was in a good mood as he went downstairs. He fetched water, chopped wood, and cleaned the courtyard before he began to prepare breakfast. Even in his past life, he did not mind cooking. Moreover, he would gladly cook for his junior sister. What he disliked was doing the dishes after the meals. However, things were different now. With just a spell, he could remove the grease. Chuyang Peak. The sect master had been feeling uneasy due to yesterday's events. He drank a cup of tea as he looked at the light that dawn brought. He was mulling over the possible troubles that Zhuyang sect might face after offending Gi Changqing and Mu Shuiyun. At this moment, he saw a streak of light flying over from a distance. He raised his hand and intercepted the message that was sent to him. Words could not describe the shock he felt after reading the message. When he recovered from his shock, a grin appeared on his face immediately before he began to laugh heartily. He quickly restrained himself before he muttered under his breath, "I can't believe that fiend Ji Changqing is dead. What impeccable timing. This is wonderful. This is great. I have to admit I'm really happy." He could not help but stand up and do a little celebratory dance. When he realized what he had done, he cleared his throat and looked around to make sure no one saw him before he hurriedly sat down. In just a moment, he regained his dignified air. Nevertheless, he could not hide the smile on his face. Soon after, the smile was replaced by a frown. A devil killed Ji Changqing. Clearly that devil isn't afraid of Qingyun's sect at all. Are the devils trying to make a comeback? That would be bad. Fortunately, it seemed like they're only targeting Qingyun's sect for now. The sect master began to think of what Zhuyang's sect should do if the devil sects made a move again. The sun rose in the east, illuminating the lands with its golden light. Jiang Ming placed the dishes he had cooked on the stone table in the courtyard. When he saw his junior sister, he said, "I cooked your favorite dishes. There are shrimp dumplings, steamed egg custard, green onion tofu, tofu with shallots, bamboo shoot salad, and fish balls. You're the best, senior brother." Linglong's eyes curved when she smiled. "Even the best pills and spiritual crystals can't compare to the breakfast you made, senior brother." Jiang Ming laughed. "That's exactly what I like to hear." At this moment, Gu Hai cleared his throat before he said, "Someone seems to have forgotten about their master whom they should honor first." Jiang Ming was rendered speechless by his master's words while Linglong covered her mouth and laughed. The trio chatted merrily as they ate the breakfast Jiang Ming had prepared. After that, Jiang Ming went to the back of the mountain. It was time to harvest his crops. The gentle mountain breeze blew, rustling the stalks of paddy. "Look at the paddy. You won't have to worry about starving for years, senior brother. Once I start brewing wine with them, you're going to complain they aren't enough. You can make wine from them? Of course. The wine you brew will definitely be tasty. I want to drink 800 cups of it." Jiang Ming laughed. "All right, what about the wheat, senior brother? What can you do with it?" "I can make noodles, buns, twisted bread rolls, tutmak, dumplings, meat buns, wontons, sliced noodles, pulled noodles, braised noodles, minced noodles, noodles with soybean paste, dry noodles with sesame paste, oily noodles, plain noodles. You'll have a different menu every day. There are also soft and fluffy cakes. You can make so many things with it. That's amazing, senior brother. I want to eat them all." "Sure, I'll make them all for you to try. I'll make sure you grow into a healthy and plump young lady. I don't want to get fat, senior brother." As the duo chatted, they hovered in the air and launched wind blades to harvest the crop. Meanwhile, Gu Hai looked at his two disciples from a distance. A happy smile could be seen on his face as he stroked his beard. "My first disciple is in his early 20s, but he's already at the foundation establishment realm. He can be considered a talented disciple of the sect. My second disciple is only 13 years old, but she's already at the extreme golden core realm, breaking the record in Zhuyang sect since its founding. With this, who would dare say Chuyang Peak is in a state of decline? Who would dare to say that I don't have any talented disciples? Who would dare to complain that I don't deserve the position of first seat?" Gu Hai was extremely pleased. He flicked his sleeve and brought his wine gourd out before taking a few swigs from it. He sighed in contentment after he wiped his mouth with his sleeve. "It tastes amazing." At the same time, Jiang Ming and Linglong continued chatting as they harvested the crop. "Look at Master Senior Brother. I wonder what kind of happy thoughts are in his mind right now. That old geezer must be incomparably happy because of how proud you've made him. I think he's thinking about the first seat of Jiaoyang Peak. Do you know what their relationship is like? I heard the seniors at Chuyang Peak spoke about this before. When first seat Yinyu was younger, she was an aloof beauty. She had many admirers, but she never paid much attention to them. She had a good relationship with Master, but Master had always avoided her for some reason. Strange. Indeed. The two disciples continued to harvest the crops as they chatted. It was not even noon yet when they finished harvesting the 100 mu of paddy, wheat, vegetable fruits, and the other crops and storing them in the warehouse. Jiang Ming had just received a notification of the rewards when he saw his master waving him over. When Jiang Ming approached Gu Hai said, "The sect master just summoned me over to Chuyang Peak. I'll be away for a moment. Guard the mountain well while I'm gone." Upon hearing this, Linglong said, "Don't worry, master. I'll destroy the cultivation bases of those who dare to look for trouble with us." Gu Hai laughed. "Yes, destroy their cultivation bases." Yang Ming's eyes gleamed as he watched Gu Hai leave. He had an idea why Gu Hai had been summoned to Chuyang Peak. Following that, Jiang Ming returned to the front courtyard with his junior sister. He decided to check his rewards. He could not help but inhale sharply when he looked at the notification again. "Congratulations on harvesting 100 mu of crops. Reward 2,000 years worth of cultivation." 100 enlightening tea leaves high grade, 30 enlightening stone rare, a space crystal, and the tyrant halberd middle grade Dao vessel. I didn't expect to receive such wonderful rewards just by harvesting the crops. Jiang Ming felt as though he was dreaming. The rewards he received daily from preparing meals and chopping wood would only amount to 2 months' worth of cultivation. This was equivalent to a 60-time increase in his cultivation speed. How could he not be shocked by the 2,000 years of cultivation he was just rewarded with? He could hardly believe this windfall. With 2,000 years of cultivation, he could easily fill his vast sea of consciousness and still have leftovers. Apart from that, he needed the enlightening tea leaves and enlightening stones as well. They would help him gain insight into various sambodas at a higher speed and cultivate more Dao seeds. When he read the description for the space crystal, his heart skipped a beat. This object was the result of the crystallization of spatial energy. It held the mysteries of the law of space. What if I gain full insight into the space samboda? With that, I'm certain I'll be able to kill Mu Shuiyun. This was not a fanciful thought, it was filled with confidence and certainty. Currently, he was using his Great Akasa Formless Sword Chi and Great Akasa Steps to gain insight into several derivations of the Space Samboda. With that, he could be considered terrifyingly powerful. What would happen if he gained insight into all of them? He could hardly imagine how much more powerful he would become. If only I have a time crystal as well. Jiang Ming was beginning to develop an insatiable appetite. The final item Jiang Ming was rewarded with was a Dao vessel. Dao vessels were superior to artifacts. The Zhuyang sect might not even have such an item. While Jiang Ming considered the various happy possibilities, Linglong tilted her head slightly and asked, "Senior brother, why do you suddenly look so happy?" "I'm happy because of the harvest," Jiang Ming replied with a smile. Inwardly, he wondered if he should give some of the rewards to his junior sister. After considering for a moment, he dismissed the idea. She was still too young, reaching the 9th extreme golden core realm at 13 years old. Although it was an amazing feat, she was still immature. She should continue to build her character, temper her foundation, and gain knowledge. When she was 17 or 18 years old, he would then help her grow. "I'm happy as well, senior brother," Linglong said excitedly. "From now on, I'll farm and harvest by your side, senior brother." Jiang Ming nodded. "I won't be bored with you around." "Alright, what do you want for lunch?" "I want noodles." "Alright, I'll make 10 kinds of noodles for you. You can eat to your heart's content in Chuyang Peak's Great Hall." The sect master and the 8 first seats were all gathered at this moment. The sect master slowly said, "I received news this morning that Gi Changqing and the disciples who were here yesterday were ambushed by a devil called Luo Ho last night. Almost all of them died. Gi Changqing and Mu Lei didn't survive." A heavy silence loomed over the great hall as the expressions of the 8 first seats changed. The expression of Yu Cheng, the first seat of Jiang Peak, underwent the most drastic change. His heart nearly jumped out from his chest when he heard these words. Fortunately, he quickly recovered from the shock and corrected his expression. The sect master continued to say, "I also received news that Mu Shuiyun, Mu Lei's mother, had left the mountain as well. She and a few elders of King Yun's sect inspected and searched the site of the battle. They found one of the devil's bases. It's on one of the mountains 40,000 miles away from us. The battle there saw the loss of 3 elders from Xingyun's sect. 2 of them were nascent soul cultivators. Even Mu Shuiyun was injured during the battle. Fortunately, reinforcements from the sect arrived at the nick of time, sparing them from the fate of suffering an even bigger loss." The 8 first seats exchanged a look. Some of them broke out in cold sweat at this moment. The base of the devils was only 40,000 miles away from Zhuyang sect, after all. Those devils could have easily come to Zhuyang sect. Would Zhuyang sect be able to fend the devils off if the devils attacked? At this time, Yue Cheng nearly died from shock. He naturally knew about the base the sect master mentioned. The devils stationed at that base were meant to invade Zhiyang sect. Once the preparations were completed, they would activate a grand formation to trap Zhiyang sect. After that, they would kill, conquer, and replace the members of the sect. Have I been exposed? Yu Cheng wondered inwardly, frightened out of his wits. He felt as though he was sitting on needles at this moment. When Zhuo Han and Zhu Yizhao's death surfaced in his mind again, he was overwhelmed with the urge to flee. The sect master asked, "Why do you think the devils set up camp 40,000 miles away from us? Are they planning to make a comeback?" The great hall was still silent as everyone tried to process this shocking news. When the sect master saw that no one responded to him, he looked at Yu Cheng as he slowly asked, "Junior brother Yu Cheng, you've always been calm and resourceful. What do you think about this matter?" Yu Cheng, who had been stewing in anxiety, instinctively rose to his feet when he was called out. Then, when he realized everyone was staring at him, he quickly removed the shocked expression from his face and replaced it with a bitter smile. In my opinion, the devils must be preparing for something but were discovered by King Yun's sect and were forced to fight. I'm still shocked by this. Sect master, I think we can't afford to involve ourselves in this matter. We should just close our gates and enjoy our lives. The sect master nodded. You have a point. However, sometimes it's impossible to not get involved even if it's what we want. Does anyone have any more ideas on what we should do? The atmosphere slowly warmed up. Yu Cheng participated in the discussion with a smile, but inwardly he was feeling very restless and uneasy. The Nine Peaks continued discussing the courses of action that Juyang sect should take. Shortly after, an order went out to seal the sect's gates. Disciples were also prohibited from venturing out of the sect, and disciples who were training outside were summoned back to the sect on Chuyang Peak. Jiang Ming could not have cared less about the commotion outside. He used his mana to turn the paddy he and Linglong had harvested into rice flour noodles, rice noodle rolls, rice cakes, and glutinous rice balls. He made several other varieties of noodles as well. Linglong undoubtedly had the feast of life. "You're amazing, senior brother. The food is delicious," Linglong exclaimed. She asked curiously, "Where did you learn to make these?" She wondered inwardly, where did he learn how to cook? Why is he so interested in farming? Is it because my cultivation base is too profound? Is that why he feels there's no need to work hard? When you were cultivating at Chuyang Peak, I was quite bored. Hence, I spent time looking through the books in the library and somehow started studying how to cook. I wanted to prepare delicious food for you when you return, Jiang Ming explained with a smile. In the future, I'll grow and cook all the things you want to eat. You're so nice to me, senior brother. Linglong's eyes reddened as she threw herself into Jiang Ming's arms. That's only natural. Jiang Ming ruffled her long hair. Alright, you're not a kid anymore. Why are you crying? I don't care. Linglong rubbed her face on his chest. Jiang Ming looked at her helplessly. When Gu Hai returned in the afternoon, he recounted the things he had heard to his two disciples. Jiang Ming did not have much of a reaction, but Linglong was greatly shocked. Gei Changqing and Mulei died? Luo Ho the devil? They discovered the devil's base and battled intensely? All I did was awaken my phoenix bloodline ahead of time. How did it lead to this chain of events? Linglong was shocked and confused. However, it did not bother her. To her, the most important thing was to protect her senior brother. She could not care less about other matters. The situation at Chuyang Peak remained the same even after receiving the explosive news. After dinner, the trio sat on the rooftop and admired the moon as they drank tea. Gu Hai said emotionally, "Ming, I didn't expect you to have such a huge improvement in your cultivation in just a few years by farming and tempering your character. You're now at the foundation establishment realm. Since this method is beneficial to your cultivation, why don't you use the lands on the neighboring mountains as well? I'm tempering my heart, character, and will. I will put my heart and soul into working hard. Before this, I tried to gain insights by pondering on how the seeds germinate, grow roots, shoots, flowers, and fruits before they mature and wither away. Before I knew it, my heart was one with nature and I gained insight into several wonderful truths. As a result, my cultivation improved as well. Moreover, Junior Sister's Foundation Establishment pills helped me reach the Foundation Establishment realm in one go," Jiang Ming said. "This is the path of sincerity," Yu Hai said as his eyes lit up. "Wonderful. Who would have thought that farming would help your heart be one with nature? It's a grand path as well." Linglong nodded silently. Jiang Ming smiled. Inwardly, he thought to himself, fuck the path of sincerity. Well, at least they bought this nonsense. Swoosh. The human path records flipped open. Yang Ming wanted to check on Yu Cheng to see if he was up to no good. Name Yu Cheng, gender male, cultivation base Dao seed realm. Background: first seat of Xiang Peak. Note, he's actually an elder of Yinmo sect. Relationship: -12 status. He's puzzled by Gi Changqing and Mulei's deaths that were supposedly the work of the devil sect's Luo Ho. He did not know who Luo Ho was. When he learned that one of their bases had been discovered and a big battle had taken place, he was struck with fear. He contemplated fleeing the sect since it would be too late once he's exposed. He continues to anxiously wait for updates. A confused expression appeared briefly on Jiang Ming's face. Their relationship value was now 4/2. This meant that Yu Cheng was slowly forgetting about a minor character like himself. To the current Jiang Ming, Yu Cheng was no longer someone he feared. All he needed to do was keep an eye on Yu Cheng. Over the next few days, Jiang Ming and Linglong did not cultivate. The two of them plowed and tilled the land. This time, Jiang Ming was only given one reward: the Life and Death Disillusionment Formation Plate. It was an extremely powerful Dao vessel. After it was cultivated, he could set up a grand formation. It would be able to maintain itself by absorbing spiritual ki and could also be boosted with spiritual crystals. This reward was undoubtedly useful. After receiving the reward, Jiang Ming buried the formation plate under the pavilion. It silently fused with the original grand formation, leaving no traces nor ripples behind. With that, Chuyang Peak's defenses were greatly enhanced. The carefree days continued to pass. Jiang Ming was 2 days from reaching the 3rd anniversary of him obtaining the system when Gu Hai brought back grim news. King Yun's sect has issued a decree to all the sects and great families in the eastern region to send out disciples to annihilate the devils. Gu Hai said with a sigh, "Our sect can't defy the decree. Our peaceful days are over and we'll see blood again." "Can't King Yun's sect deal with this matter on their own?" Jiang Ming asked. They can't if it's the 6 devil sects we're dealing with. However, it seems like we're only dealing with the Yinmo sect. It's unfortunate that its members are scattered everywhere, so it's difficult for us to clean them up in one fell swoop. This is why the Qingyun sect wants the other forces to join in this mission, Gu Hai explained. A few great battles took place several days ago which resulted in a high number of casualties. Based on the situation, it's likely that Yinmo sect is trying to make a comeback. I wonder what the devil sects are planning. I think chaos will descend on the world soon. This is really bad. After a brief pause, Gu Hai continued to say, each sect will have to send disciples to search the surrounding lands at least. However, since there are only 3 of us here at Chuyang Peak, and we only have the elderly and the young, the sect master exempted us from this mission. Both of you should stay put on the mountain, understand? Following that, Linglong hurriedly said, Master, I want to participate in the mission. No, Gu Hai refused her decisively. You're the hope of Chuyang Peak. You're the sect's future. I won't let you take this risk. Your current mission is to focus on your cultivation. You don't have to worry about anything else. I won't go far by just cultivating, Master. I won't grow without experiencing trials, Linglong argued. Now that the devils are on the move, our peaceful days are over. It's still a no. I'm going to the Great Hall to check on things. Look after your junior sister Ming. Gu Hai waved his sleeve and left. Senior brother. Linglong held Jiang Ming's arm and shook it before saying in a soft voice, I'm now a 9th extreme golden core cultivator. I can easily suppress someone with Master's cultivation base. Moreover, I've also mastered spells and special abilities I inherited from my Phoenix bloodline. They're really powerful so I can look after myself. Due to my Phoenix bloodline, I can sense there's a huge opportunity waiting for me outside. If I can grasp it, I'll definitely experience another great boost in my strength. You're so powerful now. I didn't know your bloodline came with those things. Jiang Ming was shocked. However, he shook his head and said, You're too young. When it comes to cultivating, you should take one step at a time. Don't take risks when it's unnecessary. There'll always be other opportunities in the future. But I want to go, senior brother. No. Fine, I'll sneak out then. If you dare, I'll spank you like when you were little. I don't care. Are you not going to listen to me anymore? Please, senior brother. It's just this once. I'm worried I won't be able to protect you if the sect is under attack. What would I do at that time? Now that I have an opportunity, at least let me try. Don't worry, senior brother. I promise to leave if I encounter the devils. Upon hearing these words, Jiang Ming felt distressed. He hugged her and said, Don't worry, nothing will go wrong as long as I'm here. You're still so young and yet you're already worried about so many things. I feel distressed seeing you like this. Senior brother Linglong said softly, The devil sects are already making their moves. It'll only become more dangerous from here on out. I'll have to venture out of the sect to kill the enemies sooner or later. Why can't I seize the opportunity now to improve my strength? Please, senior brother, just this once. I promise I'll listen to you in the future. With my strength, I'm confident I'll be able to escape from Dao Seed cultivators even if I can't kill them. Moreover, I have the protective artifact that the sect master gave me. I'll be safe. Jiang Ming could sense Linglong's determination. He knew that even if he refused her, she would still sneak out. In the end, he had no choice but to nod. Alright, with her cultivation base at the 9th extreme golden core realm, she should be powerful enough to protect herself. Jiang Ming thought to himself, Moreover, I'll be protecting her from the shadows. I should let her go. She's grown up after all. She'll have to venture outside eventually. A surge of emotions welled up in Jiang Ming's heart when he thought about this. For some reason, he felt lonely. Linglong left the next day. Gu Hai tried to stop her by force, but she trapped him in a sword formation. Then, she giggled and waved at Jiang Ming before she flew away to join the other disciples. With that, she left to slay the devils. The sect master did not stop Linglong. Look at her. Jiang Ming sighed emotionally. When the human path records appeared and flipped to Linglong's place, he studied the information carefully. When the sword formation finally lost its effect, Gu Hai brought his wine gourd out with a sullen expression on his face. After taking a few swigs, he said with a sigh, I can't believe her strength has already surpassed mine. To think I'm her master. I'm truly getting old. I can only manage you from now on. Ming, you're guilty of being unable to keep Linglong in check. You should be punished according to our old rules. Don't vent your anger on me, old geezer. Yang Ming rolled his eyes. He thought to himself, I can blow off your head if I want to. Gu Hai continued to sulk as he said, Go prepare our next meal. Yang Ming was speechless. As a disciple, he could only obey his master's orders. After the meal, Gu Hai rushed to the Great Hall so he could learn more about the situation outside. With that, Jiang Ming was alone again. He called up Linglong's information again. Name Z Linglong, gender, female, cultivation base, 9th extreme golden core realm background. Disciple of Zhu sect's Chuyang Peak relationship, 95. Innate talent, 10 stars, primary Phoenix bloodline, status left the sect to slay the devils. He would glance at her information from time to time. When night fell, Jiang Ming left the sect gates and found his junior sister soon after. He noticed there were more than 20 male and female disciples in their group. Most of them were core formation cultivators. The leaders were two Purple Mansion experts from Chuyang Peak. A Dao Seed elder was also tailing them from the shadows. The safety measures were sufficient. After all, the powerful experts of the Devil sects were either being monitored by Qingyun sect or were still too afraid to show themselves for now. Jiang Ming watched his junior sister from afar before he slipped into the void and traveled tens of thousands of miles before the night was even half over. He spread his senses as far and wide as he could. When he determined there were no devils who could be a threat to his junior sister and the other disciples, he returned to Chuyang Peak, feeling more at ease. After washing up, Jiang Ming sat cross-legged on his bed as he silently waited for midnight to come. Based on his prediction, he would be greatly rewarded for the 3rd anniversary. He was filled with excitement and anticipation and found it difficult to calm down. When it was finally time, congratulations on living at Chuyang Peak for 3 years and carrying out menial tasks every day. Reward: 1,000 years worth of cultivation, an earth spiritual fruit, a sky spiritual fruit, 100 enlightening tea leaves, high grade, 50 enlightening stones, rare, a spiritual spring, top grade, enlightening tea plant seed, immortal grade. An ordinary life isn't a life of labor. Ordinary doesn't have to mean mediocre. Ordinary doesn't mean endless toiling. Protecting one's home while living a carefree life is what being ordinary means. The spiritual farmland that can be developed in the future will depend on your cultivation base. With a Dao Seed cultivation base, you can develop 5 mu of spiritual farmland. The higher the grade, the greater the reward will be during the harvest. Here's to wishing you'll be able to understand the true meaning of being ordinary and to surpassing yourself as you live your life. Jiang Ming was surprised. However, a bitter smile soon appeared on his face. He had a feeling that something was not right when he developed the farmland in the past. After all, if he kept developing the lands, he would be receiving an endless stream of rewards. The rewards he received previously were rather shocking. As expected, the beginner phase was over after 3 years. The system was imposing restrictions on him now. Ordinary, huh? Being carefree and ordinary. Jiang Ming mulled over this, but he could not understand what the system meant by surpassing his own ordinariness. After a while, he shook his head and dismissed his thoughts. Who cares? I don't mind as long as there are benefits. The rewards this time are great as well. I received 1,000 years worth of cultivation. I wonder if this is because it's the end of the beginner phase. I hope there'll be big rewards like this in the future. Then Jiang Ming took a look at his rewards. The earth and sky spiritual fruits were similar to the human spiritual fruit he received in the past. They were rare items that would boost his chances of attaining enlightenment. He was certain these fruits were more potent as well. Based on the description, the sky spiritual fruit was comparable to immortal items. Jiang Ming did not hesitate. He brought it out and consumed it immediately. Following that, he felt as though his mind was running at least 1,000 times faster than before. His mind seemed to merge with the world as he contemplated the laws of the world. He could even sense certain characters appearing in his mind. This effect was similar to the effects of the enlightening tea leaves. Jiang Ming was amazed and motivated. The grand path is close at hand. Although his improvements were not very noticeable, they were more precious than 1,000 years worth of cultivation. He did not have many comments about the enlightening tea leaves and stones this time around. Another thing that surprised him was the top-grade spiritual spring. When he brought it out, it settled into the ground and took root. It tapped into the spiritual veins in its vicinity and absorbed the heaven and earth essence. Then, it changed the environment by increasing the density of the spiritual ki before forming pure spiritual liquid. It could turn an ordinary place into a sacred land for cultivation. It could be used to establish sacred lands. Jiang Ming was filled with praise. This is wonderful. Following that, he cast an earth spell to dig a space underground in the courtyard. Then, he activated the life and death disillusionment formation plate to keep the spot hidden. He brought out the spiritual spring, which seemed like a bottomless aquarium, and set it on the ground where it took root and formed a spring. At the same time, characters silently appeared along the ley lines. Buzz! The spring rippled before releasing very rich qi. The space he cleared out was filled with spiritual qi that was in the form of a mist. The spiritual fluid that appeared that was of the high grade at least appeared as well. This is great. How lucky, Jiang Ming exclaimed. Then, he used a formation to spread the spiritual qi to every corner of Chuyang Peak. Following that, the formation circulated the spiritual qi at the peak. Someone will eventually notice the changes at Chuyang Peak, but oh well. Jiang Ming shrugged as he considered several matters. After that, he leaped onto the rooftop to have a look. He saw the mist lingering in the air around the mountain. The mist was the spiritual fluid that was being circulated around the mountain. I'll turn this place into a blessed land in the future. After that, he looked at the final reward. The immortal grade tea plant seeds were an item of the immortals. It would be difficult to grow them in the mortal realm. It could be nourished with pseudo-immortal power every day or by a top-grade spiritual spring for it to germinate and slowly grow. How thoughtful of the system. It gave me a top-grade spiritual spring and an immortal grade seed. I wonder how long it will take for the seed to grow into tea leaves. Alas, Jiang Ming did not receive any answer from the system. He shook his head. He did not look forward to the fruits of this immortal item. They would be useless if he had to wait for 10,000 years for it to produce tea leaves. I wonder what effects it would have on me if I eat the seed. A strange idea appeared in Jiang Ming's mind, and he was itching to try it out. Main cultivation, Grand Path Almighty Method Sutra Spell, Primal Spirit Heart Sword, 10,000 Sword Technique, Basic Formation, Basic Talisman, Basic Pills, Basic Instrumentation Special Ability, Great Akasa Formless Sword Chi, Great Akasa Steps, 9 Divine Mountain Treasures, 9 Heavens, Imperial Lightning, Wooden Dragon, Slice the Heavens Sword, and Heaven Suppression Divine Seal. Innate Talent, Immortal Primary Taoist Body Items, Human Path Records, Life and Death Disillusionment Formation Plate, Middle Grade Tao Vessel Tyrant Halberd, 3 High Grade Shadowless Needles, High Grade Purple Cloud, High Grade Blue Crystal, Low Grade Noble Robe, Top Grade Weapon Flowing Cloud, Sword, 3,000 Years of Cultivation, 200 Enlightening Tea Leaves, 80 Single-Use Rare Enlightening Stones, a Space Crystal, an Immortal Grade Enlightening Tea Seed. Jiang Ming looked at his inventory. It was quite abundant. He felt rather uneasy, so he called up the Human Path Records to check on his junior sister. He discovered there were not many changes. He scratched his head as he muttered to himself, "Am I worrying too much? She's at the 9th stage of the Golden Core realm and has mastered many powerful spells. No one, not even the first seat's disciple, can harm her. Moreover, she can easily kill Purple Mansion cultivators and escape from ordinary Dao Seed cultivators. Why am I still worried? I feel like her father." Apart from that, Jiang Ming had also been worried about the Yinmo sect and the Bishui sect. He had a strong feeling that trouble was just around the corner. Moreover, his cultivation base was only in the Dao Seed realm. This meant that he could only hold his own against primal spirit cultivators at most. He could not kill or defeat them at all. This made him feel very insecure. After a moment, he cleared his head of unwanted thoughts and muttered, "I should cultivate now." Now that he was in the possession of a lot of enlightening tea leaves and enlightening stones, coupled with the earth's spiritual fruit and heaven's spiritual fruit he had consumed, his cultivation should progress smoothly. Jiang Ming brought out a teapot from his storage ring. With a wave of his hand, he brought out a stream of water from the spiritual spring and moved it into the teapot. Subsequently, he placed an enlightening tea leaf into the pot and began to heat the pot with his hands. In just a moment, the water was already boiling. When it was finally done, he poured the tea into a teacup and blew on it before he took a sip. Following that, he sat cross-legged and closed his eyes. As his mind merged with nature, he could keenly sense the wonders of nature, the principles of creation and reincarnation, and various Tao rhythms. Whenever he comprehended a new Sambodha, he would form a new Tao seed. He would continue to comprehend the Sambodha to grow the seeds. If he only had one Tao seed, he would have long been able to break through the nascent soul realm with the mana he had accumulated. The next day, after Jiang Ming stopped cultivating, he fetched water, swept the courtyard, and made breakfast. Having breakfast alone reminded him of his junior sister's absence. Hence, he called up the Human Path Records again to check on her. He also looked at Yu Chang and Momo's pages, but to his disappointment, there were no changes as well. After breakfast, he went to the back of the mountain and thought about what else he could do with the farmland. While he walked to the back of the mountain, he called up the Human Path Records again. A short while later, when he reached the bank of a lake, he brought out a fishing rod before he sat down. Similar to before, he felt compelled to call up the Human Path Records. By midday, he had already called up the Human Path Records 5 times. Jiang Ming smiled wryly. "Why am I so worried?" As Jiang Ming made his way to the rooftop, he thought to himself resolutely, "From now on, I'll check it once, no, twice a day at most. I'll check it once in the morning and once at night." Following that, he sat in the pavilion with his legs crossed and began to cultivate. The days continued to pass, and the mountains remained uneventful. Jiang Ming used 2 to 3 enlightening tea leaves daily. As a result, the Tao seeds in his sea of consciousness continued to grow rapidly. At the same time, he spent time mastering his special ability as well. Although his cultivation base remained the same, his combat strength had grown stronger. In just a blink of an eye, half a month had passed. In the evening, next to the lake, Jiang Ming was fishing silently at this moment. This remained part of his routine apart from cultivating. Due to his unique cultivation method, it was easy for him to comprehend a Sambodha. To comprehend another Sambodha, he would need some time for the transitioning process. Daily menial tasks and manual labor were the best way for him to increase the speed of his cultivation. At this time, Jiang Ming's eyes lit up when his fishing rod sank slightly. Without casting a spell or using a special ability, he reeled the fish in. A fish that was longer than 2 meters with pitch-black scales, a large mouth, and 2 whiskers leaped out of the lake. It flapped its body in a frenzy, stirring up waves on the previously calm surface of the lake. Congratulations on catching a 200-year-old black dragon loach. Reward, a special ability, the Great Manifestation Technique. Jiang Ming was stunned when he heard the system notification. He knew about the black dragon loach. Since it carried a trace amount of the dragon bloodline, it could evolve into a dragon once its cultivation base reached a certain stage. A 200-year-old black dragon loach had a strong internal force, so it was equivalent to being in the Foundation establishment realm. Based on Jiang Ming's speculation, the black dragon loach must have been wandering the mountain streams that led to the lake since it did not know how to cultivate demonic energy. Now that the spiritual energy in Chuyang Peak had soared, it was only natural that the lake here was dense with spiritual energy as well. As a result, it attracted the black dragon loach. I'll let it live for now and stew it for junior sister when she returns. Jiang Ming thought to himself as he returned the black dragon loach to the lake. The black dragon loach swam away swiftly, vanishing from sight in just an instant. Following that, Jiang Ming looked at the special ability, the Great Manifestation Technique that he had just received. It was a great spell to create a clone of himself. An ordinary manifestation technique relied on one's mana. This meant that the clone would not last for a long time and it was not very strong. On the other hand, the Great Manifestation Technique did not only rely on mana, one could also rely on one's blood essence or a spiritual object to power the clone. High-grade spirit items could carry more of their owner's powers. Apart from that, the power could be restored after it was depleted. This meant that the clone would not vanish quickly. This is great. Jiang Ming was ecstatic. This reward was the best reward he had received over the past few days. After I form a clone of myself, I can leave the mountain easily, Jiang Ming said to himself excitedly. In fact, he had wanted to see the world beyond the mountain. However, due to his low cultivation base and safety, he thought it was best to stay on the mountain. After obtaining the system, his cultivation had improved greatly. However, for some reason, he still remained on the mountain. After he put away the fishing rod, he returned to his room. He brewed a pot of tea before he began to comprehend the special ability. It took him the time to finish a cup of tea to master the special ability to the rudimentary stage. When he opened his eyes, he exhaled a wisp of vital energy. There was a flash of light before a figure that was identical to him appeared in front of him. A clone formed from vital energy is the lowest level of manifestation. It only carries a wisp of my consciousness and less than a millionth of my strength. Moreover, I won't be able to recover the depleted power. It's like a disposable item, Jiang Ming thought to himself. He knew that manifesting a duplicate of himself meant he would have to divide his consciousness into two so that he could do two things at once. Swoosh! The clone vanished along with the vital energy. Only the wisp of consciousness returned to him. Following that, Jiang Ming rose to his feet and moved his hand, releasing strands of consciousness and qi to form 81 clones of himself. Amazing! His 81 clones were capable of acting on their own. They looked at each other at this moment as though they were sizing each other up. The clones are quite flawless. After a while, Jiang Ming finally withdrew the clones. After all, he had no use for them now. I should spend more time mastering this technique so I can form a clone whose energy can be recovered. At this time, night had already fallen. The moon illuminated the night sky as the stars shone next to it. Jiang Ming called up the human path records to check on his junior sister again. Name Linglong, gender female, cultivation base 9th extreme of the Golden Core realm, background disciple of Zhuyang sex Chuyang Peak, relationship 95 innate talent, 10 stars, primary phoenix bloodline, status encountered and fought the experts from the devil sect. The elders of Zhuyang sect who are secretly protecting the disciples had to reveal themselves. The group was separated and she hid in the forest. She used a secret technique to hide her presence. She has just discovered and entered a tomb of extreme path. She found the Medicine King's essence and is currently refining it. Jiang Ming was surprised that his junior sister ran into the experts from the devil sect. Moreover, the experts from the devil sect were strong enough to force the Zhuyang sect elders to show themselves. Nevertheless, he was pleased that she managed to escape. Apart from that, he was also amazed his junior sister managed to stumble upon the tomb of extreme path. He began to grow slightly suspicious. Before she left, she had told him she could sense a great opportunity waiting for her outside. Then, she did not even leave that long ago, but she had already stumbled upon a great opportunity. Moreover, he was also bewildered by how easily she had obtained the legacy without encountering any danger. Jiang Ming knew what the extreme path was. He had read about it in a detailed explanation on human cultivation realms. There were 10 cultivation realms: Key Cultivation, Foundation Establishment, Core Formation, Purple Mansion, Dao Seed, Nascent Soul, Primal Spirit, Paradise, Extreme Path, and Imminent Immortal. An Extreme Path expert was so strong that he or she could easily annihilate the Zhuyang sect. Jiang Ming rose to his feet. He could not help but feel worried. After a moment, he vanished from sight as soon as the void began to distort and ripple. When he reappeared, he was already far from the mountain entrance. Then in the next second he vanished again. The bright moon hung in the dark sky as Jiang Ming traveled using the Akasa network at an incredibly fast pace. At the same time, he swept through the surroundings with his consciousness. In the end, he found 3 of Juyang's sect disciples who were with his junior sister earlier. As for the others, he had no idea if they were alive or dead. However, since the 3 disciples only looked tired and not sad, he assumed the others were only separated and still alive. Jiang Ming did not show himself. Instead, he called up the human path records and checked on his junior sister's status. Name: Z Linglong. Gender: female. Cultivation base: Purple Mansion. Realm: background: disciple of Juyang sect's Chuyang Peak. Relationship: 95. Innate talent: immortal. Premonitory Phoenix bloodline. Status: she has successfully refined the Medicine King's essence, opened up her sea of consciousness, and broke through to the Purple Mansion realm. She rested for a while and is now continuing to absorb the refined Medicine King's essence, which raised her cultivation base tremendously. Is junior sister the protagonist or the Heaven's Child? Jiang Ming wondered out loud. His junior sister's progress was heaven-defying. When his junior sister awakened her Phoenix bloodline, she was still a naive little girl with not much experience both social and cultivation-wise. Her swift and sudden rise to the 9th stage of the Golden Core realm could be explained by her extraordinary bloodline. However, to progress to the Purple Mansion realm when she was away from the mountain without any protection was truly baffling. It could be attributed to her bloodline alone. Apart from that, her innate talent had risen as well. Yang Ming was not certain if there were grades for immortal innate talent, but it should be almost impossible for one to raise one's innate talent. After all, there was a reason it was called innate talent. It was something given by the heavens and something one was born with. However, his junior sister's innate talent had risen from 8 stars to immortal. In the end, he concluded his junior sister must have obtained a clock of fortune or something like that. The thing that pleased him the most was despite his junior sister's tremendous improvement, their relationship value remained the same. Yang Ming searched around for the Tomb of Extreme Path, but his efforts were in vain. When dawn was close at hand, he called up the human path records again. When he saw there were no changes, he decided to return to the mountain. Since junior sister is abnormally lucky, she should be fine, Jiang Ming thought to himself in an attempt to reassure himself. After returning to the mountain, he brewed a pot of tea before he began to cultivate. The Tao rhythm rang in his ears. The sound of deadly silence from ancient times, the vibrant sound of creation and nature, the silent buzz of killing intent, and the energy fluctuations that were like wind blades entered his ears one after another. Jiang Ming improved tremendously every day. Apart from cultivating, he had also spared time to look for spiritual seeds. He had also asked for Chuyang Peak's Zhang Junbao's help to look for spiritual seeds. With that, he continued to farm. In just a blink of an eye, half a month had passed. When Jiang Ming checked on his junior sister, he was shocked and bewildered. His junior sister was now in the Tao Seed realm. He exclaimed in shock, "How's this possible?" If he did not have the human path records, he would have thought his junior sister's soul had been swapped out from her body. One can only break through to the Tao Seed realm after filling the Purple Mansion with mana. One also needed to form a Tao Seed by comprehending a Symbota. All of this would take a long time to accomplish, so how did she break through so quickly? Does she have a system as well? Jiang Ming wondered inwardly, perplexed. Although I have a system that provides me with cheats, I'm only at the Tao Seed realm. Junior sister started cultivating later than I did, but we have the same cultivation base now. Who would believe that a 13-year-old girl is a Tao Seed cultivator? Jiang Ming smiled wryly as he thought about this. If it were not for the fact that their relationship value did not change, he would have suspected that something was terribly wrong with his junior sister. In the end, he could only tell himself that his junior sister was just extremely lucky. At the same time, he was no longer worried about her since he knew she was now capable of protecting herself. Jiang Ming smiled and shook his head as he thought to himself, I should cultivate diligently as well, otherwise I'd have to rely on junior sister to protect me in the future. There were quite a few Tao seeds in Jiang Ming's sea of consciousness. He had gathered the 5 elemental Tao seeds such as wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. Apart from that, there were also thunder, wind, life, death, and other seeds. He was preparing to merge the 5 elements and to comprehend the mysteries of yin-yang and the law of space. He knew he had a long journey ahead of him. Fortunately, he had a huge supply of mana. All he needed to do was drink the tea he brewed with the enlightening tea leaves and cultivate in the main hall of Juyang Sect's main peak. Gu Hai asked with a worried expression, Sect Master, do you have any news about Linglong? It's been 3 months since she left. Most of the disciples who left with her have already returned. Why don't we have news about her? Did you really send people to look for her? Dongfang Li, the first seed of Liang Peak, snorted. Gu Hai, watch your words. Linglong has a high innate talent and should have stayed in the sect to cultivate. However, you let her venture down the mountain. Do you feel you have too many disciples on Chuyang Peak? Or do you think the sect doesn't have a need for a rare genius like her? You should have been stripped of your position as the first seed a long time ago. You. Gu Hai was furious. At this time, Yin Yue, the first seat of Jiaoyang Peak, cocked an eyebrow and said, Dongfang Li, the sect master, agreed to let Linglong leave the sect. I remember you agreed as well. In fact, you even said it's good for a talented disciple like Linglong to venture out and gain experience. Now that things don't look good, you intend to push all the blame to senior brother Gu. Yue Cheng, the first seat of Jiang Peak, tried to mediate and said, all right, little Linglong is highly talented and blessed. I'm sure she's fine. Moreover, no news is good news, right? At this moment, a streak of light suddenly shot into the main hall. When the sect master caught it in his hand, the light dissipated, revealing a letter. After reading the letter, he rose to his feet abruptly with a furious expression on his face. Upon seeing this, Gu Hai trembled slightly as his face turned pale. He asked, what happened? Did something happen to Linglong? When Gu Hai returned in the evening, a frown was etched on his face. He looked worried. After Jiang Ming brought a seat for his master, he brewed a pot of tea as he asked, What's wrong, master? Do we have any news about junior sister yet? No, Gu Hai said as he shook his head. Nevertheless, your junior sister is very lucky, so I'm sure she's safe. I agree. Jiang Ming nodded. After tea was brewed, he poured a cup of tea for Gu Hai. Then, he said with a smile, Junior sister used to say she broke the record in Juyang sect when she entered the 9th stage of the Golden Core realm. How can anything bad happen to a person who's so lucky like her? Don't worry, she'll be back soon. Gu Hai forced a smile on his face and said, I hope so. After taking a sip from the teacup, he continued to say, the sect master received news that a powerful foreign sect has moved to the eastern region's High Province. Not only is there the resurgence of the devil sects, but now there's also a possibility of invasion by a foreign sect. This is a truly troublesome year. Powerful foreign sect. How powerful? How can a foreign sect thrive in High Province? Jiang Ming toyed with the teacup in his hand as he said, the Jiang clan, Fei Yun sect, and Tian Shui sect are the three main forces in High Province. Although individually they aren't as strong as Juyang sect, collectively they're as strong as us. How can they let a foreign sect move into their territory? Moreover, our Juyang sect is located in Qing province that neighbors High Province. Isn't the foreign sect afraid of our sect attacking them? The eastern region has 9 provinces: Feng province, Yu province, Lei province, Yun province, Shui province, Wu province, Mu province, Qing province, and Hai province. Hai province was located near the sea, neighboring Qing province. I heard the sect master said that the foreign sect is called Bishui sect. It's powerful and it moved in quietly without alerting anyone. It destroyed the Fei Yun sect and subjugated the Jiang clan. The Tian Shui sect has just requested our assistance, Gu Hai explained. He smiled wryly as he continued to say, in the early days, Bishui sect would have been met with the fury of the entire eastern region. Alas, currently there's the resurgence of the devil sects. Bishui sect has also announced that now they've moved here, they're willing to obey the Qingyun sect and fight the devil sects to death. From the looks of it, it's likely that the Bishui sect had bribed the Qingyun sect with some rare and precious gifts. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had the guts to act in such a manner. Bishui sect? Jiang Ming frowned. A few months ago, when Jiang Ming was chasing after Gi Changqing and Mu Lei of the Qingyun sect, he had met Lan Shi, the elder of Bishui sect. At that time, Lan Shi was plotting with the Sima clan on how to gain a foothold in the eastern region. Based on how Lan Shi had tried to save Mu Lei at that time to curry favor and forge a connection with the Qingyun sect at that time, it was clear the Bishui sect had yet to form any relationship with the Qingyun sect at that time. After Lan Shi's death, Bishui sect should be in chaos. Jiang Ming did not understand how they could have made such a strong move in High Province after only a few months. Nevertheless, he was certain, just like his master, that the Bishui sect must have given the Qingyun sect something incredibly precious. Otherwise, Qingyun sect certainly would not have overlooked Bishui's sudden move to the eastern region's High Province. After all, Qingyun sect was the eastern region's sacred land. Although there were still many uncertainties, it was likely that war would break out sooner or later in the eastern region if this continued. Meanwhile, Jiang Ming could see that his master was still worried about Linglong. It was not difficult to tell that his master was afraid the young girl who had yet to be found had fallen into the hands of the devil sect. He could only continue to say reassuringly, Master, don't worry, I'm sure junior sister is safe. Jiang Ming could naturally empathize with his master. After all, if he did not have the human path records, he would likely be even more worried than his master. Gu Hai only nodded. Following that, he asked Jiang Ming to cook him a sumptuous meal for dinner to satiate his appetite before he returned to the main hall in the main peak again. After Gu Hai left, Jiang Ming cleaned up before he flew up to the rooftop and sat on the reclining chair. Then, he called up the human path records as he thought about the Bishui sect. Name Jiang Momo, gender female, cultivation base, late stage foundation establishment realm. Background: disciple of Juyang sect Jiang Peak. Note: she's actually from the Bishui sect. She's also the daughter of Fairy Shui Yu. Relationship 63 status. She has received an order from Bishui sect to send information about the Juyang sect. The information that was requested pertained to the strongest experts cultivation base, the number of experts, the state of the formation at the mountain entrance, and so on. She's currently facing a dilemma. After all, although she was from Bishui sect, she grew up and was raised in Juyang sect. Interesting, Jiang Ming muttered under his breath. He had no conflict with Momo. In fact, he had a rather good impression of her. However, if she were to betray the Juyang sect, then he would not hesitate to act. He would kill her as soon as the chance presented itself. Bishui sect is where she was born, but Juyang sect is where she was raised. Indeed, it's a rather difficult choice to make, Jiang Ming thought to himself. He wondered how she had come to join the Juyang sect but could not come up with an answer. Following that, he wrote down the names of disciples at Jiang Peak on the human path records to check if there were any more spies from the Bishui sect. Fortunately, there was none. I should continue checking daily. Jiang Ming did not withdraw the human path records. Instead, he flipped to his junior sister's page to check on her again. Her cultivation base was still at the Dao Seed realm. From her status, he learned that she had left the ruin after collecting the treasures in the Tomb of Extreme Path. Junior sister should be returning to the sect now. Jiang Ming was overjoyed. He was filled with the urge to go beyond the mountain entrance. After all, he was no longer restricted by the sect's formation. With his current knowledge about formations, he could easily break the formation with his eyes closed. Although he had only studied the basic formations given by the system, they were judged as basic by the system. This meant the formations were not necessarily basic. After leaving the sect's estate, he discovered he had nowhere to go. Hence, he could only smile wryly and return to the mountain. He returned to the rooftop again and looked at the surrounding mountains. At the same time, he had called up the human path records again. After looking at his junior sister and Jiang Momo's information again, he looked at Yu Cheng's information as well. Jiang Ming sighed when he saw Jiang Momo's status. He learned that she was now preparing to leave the sect under the pretext of waiting for Linglong's return. In fact, she was leaving to send out information to the Bishui sect. He thought about leaving the mountain again to check on Jiang Momo before he decided against it for now. With just a thought, he extended a strand of his divine consciousness out. He was very cautious since he was not certain he would be able to hide his aura from First Seat Yin Yue. However, when the scene in Jiang Peak appeared before his eyes, blood almost gushed out of his nostrils. Ah, I'm sorry, I don't mean it. The disciples at Jiang Peak were all female. Through his divine consciousness, he saw a wonderful scene. He saw a few disciples cultivating quietly as they soaked in the hot spring, 2 disciples tumbling playfully on the bed, and another 2 cultivating in a bed of flowers as they held hands. Usually, one would be able to see a scene as it was through divine consciousness. However, perhaps his divine consciousness was different. He could see through things like robes and what underneath them as though he had X-ray vision. When he saw this scene, he was filled with embarrassment, anticipation, and a strong urge to take action. It took him quite a while to calm down. After a while, when he finally found Jiang Momo, he sent a strand of his consciousness into her mind to hypnotize her before he quietly withdrew his consciousness without leaving any traces behind. Jiang Ming massaged his temple. When he looked in the direction of Jiang Peak, his eyes sparkled. He had to inhale deeply and clear his mind of distracting thoughts before he finally calmed down again. He thought to himself, no wonder people say that beauties can cause the downfalls of heroes. Shortly afterward, he checked on junior sister again. Fuck! He discovered she had run into 2 devil experts. He did not hesitate and hurriedly flew away at the same time. At Jiang Peak, Jiang Momo was kneeling in front of Yin Yue. Momo, what is it that you need to talk about that can't wait until tomorrow? Without any warning, Jiang Momo blurted out, Master, I'm originally a disciple of Bishui sect. What? Needless to say, Yin Yu was shocked by Jiang Momo's sudden confession. As soon as Jiang Ming left the mountain, he moved at top speed as he mobilized all his mana. In just a second, he was already 1,000 miles away. He looked like a meteor as he traveled in the night sky. At the same time, he extended a strand of his divine consciousness, sensing the auras in the distance. Eventually, he looked in the southeastern direction and saw a faint divine light. The power it emitted was rather powerful. He wondered inwardly, is she there? He moved in that direction as anxiety gripped his heart. He was worried about his junior sister going up against 2 devils. She would be able to kill them if their cultivation bases were lower than her. But if their cultivation bases were also at the Dao Seed realm, he was not sure she could defeat them due to her lack of combat experience. Previously, Linglong did not waste time and began to cultivate as soon as she discovered the Tomb of Extreme Path based on her memory. With that, her cultivation soared until she broke through to the Dao Seed realm. Prior to that, she had maintained her cultivation base at the Golden Core realm to accumulate more mana before she opened up her Purple Mansion. This was so she could quickly fill up the mana in her purple mansion after she broke through to the purple mansion realm. With that, she would be able to directly break through to the Dao Seed realm. After entering the Dao Seed realm, she needed more time to form Dao Seeds by comprehending Sembodas. She wanted to build a strong foundation so she would not have any regrets in the future, so she stopped cultivating after forming a few Dao Seeds which were fire, wind, and thunder. Apart from that, she had been away for too long, so she did not want her senior brother to worry about her. For all these reasons, she decided to resume cultivating after she returned to the mountain. Before Linglong left the Tomb of Extreme Path, she did not forget to bring all the treasures away. As soon as she stepped outside, a divine light burst forth from the tomb as energy began to fluctuate. She frowned and shook her head. Although she had been the tomb in her past life, she only found it when it had been looted and destroyed. From her past life, she only knew the way to enter the tomb, the treasures, and the treasures' locations. She did not know anything about the divine light. As she glanced back at the tomb, "Are you trying to seek revenge from the person who looted your tomb by announcing it to the entire world?" Following that, she sensed two auras rushing toward her direction. In just a second, two figures appeared and quickly released their energies to seal off the area. A cave? An ancient ruin? The two newcomers, a young man and a middle-aged man, looked at each other excitedly. Then, they turned to look at Linglong. The young man standing on the left asked rudely, "Did you just come out from the ruin? What's in there? Bring out all the things you obtained in there." The middle-aged man standing on the right emitted a faint aura which clearly belonged to a high-grade protective robe. He held a sword which was an artifact in his hand as he said threateningly, "We're at the border of Qing province and Hai province. It's now late in the night and the mountains are deserted. No one's around for thousands of miles. If you cooperate with us, we'll let you leave in peace." Then, he smirked and said lewdly, "Otherwise, I'll toy with you." Linglong sneered before she said tonelessly, "I'll only say this once. Move out of my way." Then, a slight frown appeared on her face as she looked at the distant sky from the corners of her eyes. The young man laughed out loud upon hearing Linglong's words. "What an arrogant little girl. Forget about leaving. I'm going to capture you back with me and make you my concubine." Swoosh. As soon as the young man's voice fell, Linglong raised her hand. A long sword materialized immediately. An energy sword shot out at lightning speed, leaving ripples in the void before it cleaved the young man into two. "Lu Kong!" the middle-aged man cried out. A black energy rose from his body, forming a strong defensive shield as he swiftly retreated. He knew the young man had just broken through to the Dao Seed realm, and yet the young man was easily cleaved into two in just an instant. Even he, who was at the peak of the Dao Seed realm, was incapable of such a feat. Hence, he decided to flee. Trying to flee, Linglong scoffed. A whistling sound rang in the air as she thrust her sword out and accurately pierced through the middle-aged man's skull. Linglong snorted coldly. Along with a whistling sound, she thrust her sword forward. "I just came out to look for women to have fun with. How did things—" the man said in despair before Linglong's sword accurately pierced through his skull. Linglong's eyes narrowed when she heard the middle-aged man's dying word. Currently, she could easily kill anyone who had the same cultivation base as her. Linglong did not waste time and left the site. After all, who knew if the two men had friends in the area? In just a blink of an eye, she traveled 1,000 miles away. She suddenly came to a halt when she saw the void rippling up ahead. The clouds parted and revealed a flying ship that was inscribed with countless glowing inscriptions. She sighed inwardly and lamented her bad luck. The flying ship was 3 stories high. A pavilion made from polished crystals was erected on the top floor. Translucent drapes that shone in the moonlight fluttered around the pavilion. 8 female dancers danced as a young man watched them with great interest. 3 middle-aged men dressed in dark golden robes sat next to him, silently sipping from their teacups. On the deck, there were roughly 100 warriors in silver armor neatly lined up in 2 rows. All of their auras were strong, and they were purple mansion cultivators. Linglong thought that the leader of these silver-armored warriors must be powerful or had high status since he or she was able to command so many purple mansion cultivators. After a quick look, she noticed something strange about the silver-armored warriors. Their faces, necks, arms, and other parts of their bodies that were exposed were all veiny and scaly. With this, realization dawned on her immediately. They're from one of the Sea clans. At this time, the young man rose to his feet and introduced himself. He bowed and said with a smile, "Miss, I'm Bai Haitian. The night is still young and I'm wide awake. Would you like to have a drink with me?" The young man's face was fair and he was handsome. His smile was very bright as well. Nevertheless, Linglong responded indifferently, "What if I refuse?" Bai Haitian smiled. "I don't usually force people. After all, with just a word of hello, millions of girls would flock to me." Then, his expression darkened as he continued to say, "However, if someone I'm interested in refuses me..." Bai Haitian waved his hand, causing two drapes to flutter before he continued to say in a threatening tone, "I'll take pleasure from her body before I cook her. Then I'll continue savoring her body. You loach, fuck off." Linglong said furiously. Bai Haitian said frostily, "It's best you don't refuse me." Before Bai Haitian could say anything else, Linglong brought out her sword and released a destructive wave of the sword Semboda. It sailed in the air and parted the clouds in its path. She was determined to kill everyone who stood in her way or harbored ill intentions toward her. Swoosh! The flying ship suddenly burst forth with light as though it was trying to fend off the destructive force. Alas, it still hit the ship. Linglong's sword Semboda was so powerful now that it could cut all things. Bai Haitian's expression turned grim, but he did not dodge. This was because the three middle-aged men were now standing before him, shielding him. Swoosh! The divine light shrouding the pavilion could not keep the energy sword at bay. Only when the three middle-aged men joined forces did they manage to destroy the energy sword. Even then, they were pushed back. Bai Haitian exclaimed in shock, "How powerful! How did you manage to release such a powerful sword Semboda when you're only in the Dao Seed realm?" Linglong ignored Bai Haitian. Instead, she frowned as she was looking at the bottom of the flying ship. She sensed a stronger aura hiding in the flying ship when her attack breached the divine light from the flying ship. Although she was not afraid, she could not help but complain inwardly about her bad luck. She wanted to avoid people, but who knew she would run into the people from the Sea Clan. Finally, she turned to Bai Haitian and said, "Little Loach, I'll kill you sooner or later." At this time, a burst of laughter rang in the air. "Little Loach, well said." Then, a flash of light appeared as the void rippled in the distance. Following that, a group of people appeared before everyone's eyes. The young man in the lead rode on a white horse with dragon horns. Its four hooves treaded on the clouds and it looked fearsome and majestic. Its body revealed its domineering strength and terrifying vital energy and blood. It was the legendary dragon horse, an immensely powerful bloodline from the devil race, and yet it was now reduced to a mount. Four snowy white unicorns stood behind the white dragon horse. With just a brief glance, they could be mistaken for the dragon horse, but in reality there was a world of a difference between them. It did not take long for the group of newcomers to draw close to them. Bai Haitian's expression had darkened as soon as he saw the young man riding on the dragon horse. He said reproachfully, "How dare you ride the dragon horse? How dare you? And you, dragon horse, you bear the noble bloodline of the dragons. How dare you tarnish your bloodline by becoming a human's mount? Dumb you." The dragon horse whinnied. It even exhaled a puff of flames through its nostrils. However, a gentle nudge from the young man riding it made it docile immediately. The white-clad young man smiled as he looked at Bai Haitian and said, "I haven't visited the sea yet during this trip to the eastern region. It's good to meet you here. I'm going to cook you and see how tasty you are later." Then he shifted his gaze to Linglong and said, "Miss, you really made me chase you a long way. I'm Bai from the Infinite Alchemy Pavilion in Jiang Province. I accidentally found the note of Yun Tin Kong, an extreme path expert. When he got grievously injured, he knew he would not live, so he returned to the eastern region where he was born and raised. However, the places he knew no longer existed. After searching for a long time, I finally discovered he had buried himself near the border of Qing Province and Hai Province." Bai paused for a moment before he continued to say, "I came and secretly searched that place 3 years ago, but my efforts were in vain. I thought the resurgence of the devil sex is due to the discovery of Yun Tiankong's tomb, but it seems like that's not the case. Fortunately, I didn't give up. I didn't expect that I would sense the Dao fluctuation of an extreme path expert tonight. I was overjoyed. Alas, when I arrived, I only saw the corpses of 2 devils. After that, I followed your lingering aura here." Bai narrowed his eyes at this moment as he asked, "Miss, can you please tell me what you obtained from the tomb? If you tell me, I'll catch that loach for you and even stew it for you. Moreover, you'll also be considered a friend of the Infinity Alchemy Pavilion. In fact, if you want, I can get the pavilion to accept you as a disciple. With that, you'll even have a chance of becoming a true disciple of the Infinite Alchemy Pavilion." "The Infinite Alchemy Pavilion?" Bai Haitian, who was on the ship, exclaimed in shock. Then he shouted, "Let's leave." The flying ship burst forth with light, preparing to leave. However, before it could move, 4 of Bai's men suddenly vanished and reappeared in 4 different directions up ahead. Then, they brought out a large flag and thrust it down in the air, forming a great formation that sealed off the entire place. Bang! The flying ship crashed against a barrier of light and bounced back. At the same time, the light around the ship dimmed as well. "Sir!" Bai Haitian, who was standing at the top of the ship, forced a smile on his face before he bowed slightly at Bai and said, "My surname is Bai as well. For the sake of the surname we share, can you please let us go?" "Your surname is Bai as well? Well, it seems like you're entitled to a chance," Bai said with a raised eyebrow. Then, he demanded, "Kneel and apologize to this miss and I'll spare your life." "Dean you." Bai Haitian was thoroughly enraged. Although the Infinite Alchemy Pavilion is strong, it's in Jiang Province. Don't forget that we're now very close to the sea in the eastern region. Moreover, you're just a mere disciple of the Infinite Alchemy Pavilion. How dare you act so arrogantly, you brat. Let me kill and cook all of you today so I can have all of you for dinner with wine. When Jiang Ming arrived, he was furious when he saw his junior sister being surrounded. However, he did not act rashly. Instead, he hid himself in the void and called up the human path records. Name: Bai Haitian race, scaled dragon, gender male, cultivation base purple, mansion realm. Background: the third son of the white scaled dragon king of the Eastern Sea. Relationship: 0 innate talent, 8 stars status. Came to the Eastern region under the order of the white scaled dragon king to meet with the experts from the dragon sect to find out about the current situation. He planned to have fun during his trip and enjoy the beautiful scenery of mountains and rivers. While he was enjoying the scenery, he felt a strong fluctuation in the distance. When he was making his way to the source of the fluctuation, he ran into Linglong. He sensed Linglong's extraordinary bloodline, so he wants to capture her and make her his concubine, food, or harvest her power to boost his own. Jiang Ming grew even more enraged when he read Bai Haitian's status. His eyes shone with killing intent as he thought to himself, "Very well, I'll remember your name, Bai Haitian." Jiang Ming mentally added Bai Haitian to his list of people to kill. When he calmed down slightly, he finally realized there was a slight change to the human path record. There was now a race category. The status seemed much more detailed than before as well. It seemed the status would now briefly recount the target's past. However, since Jiang Ming did not know much about the scaled dragon clan, Bai Haitian's information was not very useful. He wondered to himself, are the Sea clans colluding with the Devil sects as well? Did Bishui sect move here because of that? Subsequently, he looked up the information of the 3 golden-clad middle-aged men who guarded Bai Haitian. They were all Dao seed cultivators. Apart from that, he also discovered a nascent soul devil hiding in the ship. However, he was not worried about the devil. Then Jiang Ming shifted his attention to the other group of people and flipped the human path record to a new page. Name: Baiyu race, human gender, male, cultivation base, Dao seed realm. Background: current holy son of the infinite alchemy pavilion. Relationship: 0 innate talent, 10 stars, heaven overlord body. Status: after finding the note of Yun Tiankong, an extreme path expert, he began to investigate and found out that Yun Tiankong did not have any disciples. For that reason, he's certain Yun Tiankong must have left his legacy behind. He's determined to get his hands on Yun Tiankong's legacy. He came to the Eastern region 3 years ago but didn't find anything. Tonight, he sensed the Dao fluctuation of an extreme path expert. However, when he arrived, he found out the tomb had been unsealed. Then, he followed the lingering aura in the tomb here. Jiang Ming frowned when he read Baiyu's information. He was not intimidated by Baiyu's cultivation base in the Dao seed realm, but he was concerned about Baiyu's status as the holy son of the infinite alchemy pavilion. Jiang Ming had a basic understanding of the forces in Zhang province. The infinite alchemy pavilion was famous for their weapon forging and body tempering skills. In fact, it was on par with a sacred land like Qingyun sect. The holy son of such a powerful sect would be welcomed wherever he went. If Baiyu were to visit Juyang sect, the sect master would deactivate the formation and lead all the 8 first seats to welcome him at the entrance. In fact, let alone the sect master of Juyang sect, even the sect master of Qingyun sect would have to personally welcome the holy son of Baiyu. After all, holy sons and holy daughters were representatives of their respective forces. Apart from that, Baiyu's innate talent was quite high as well. He possessed a 10-star innate talent and even possessed a special physique, the Heaven Overlord body. There are various special physiques listed in the books available to the public. The Heaven Lord body was ranked in the top 20 physiques. Such a physique was already incredibly strong on its own. Coupled with the unique body tempering techniques from the Infinite Alchemy Pavilion, Baiyu was unimaginably strong. Jiang Ming's eyes only narrowed slightly when he read Baiyu's status. After that, he checked the information of the 4 experts with Baiyu and discovered they were all nascent soul experts. Jiang Ming could not help but curse. Fuck, my sect master is a nascent soul cultivator, but nascent soul cultivators are only guards in the infinite alchemy sect. In fact, Jiyang sect was not weak. It was just that the infinite alchemy sect was incredibly strong. Jiang Ming shook his head as he thought to himself, Bai Haitian looks very pathetic in comparison to Bai Yu. As the saying went, there's no harm without comparison. At this moment, Jiang Ming heard Bai Haitian cry out. He thought Bai Haitian was about to fight for his life, but he only saw an energy sword shooting out of the flying ship toward the light barrier. Bang! The barrier shook violently and a small hole appeared on it. Alas, the hole mended itself quickly. Bai Haitian's eyes widened as he paled with fright. Bai Yu laughed. You're quite clever to use provocation as a means to escape. By the way, that person hiding in the ship is quite strong. Alas, he's not strong enough to save you. Not when I'm the enemy. Bai Haitian said with a hint of desperation. Why would you do this when I've never offended you? I'm the 3rd son of the white-scaled dragon king of the Eastern Sea. You'll only incur my father's wrath if you kill me. It won't do you any good to kill me. Baiyu replied coldly, You're wrong. There's an advantage to killing all of you. I can make seafood out of all of you. To me, the white-scaled Dragon King is just a bigger loach. If he dares to look for me, I'll make sure to send him to reunite with you." Inwardly, Bai Haitian burned with fear and anxiety. Outwardly, he shouted, "You're crazy." At this moment, Linglong, who had been watching quietly from the side, finally said, "Bai Yu, do you think you'd be able to leave after revealing that you're here to look for the Tomb of Extreme Path and that you're from the Infinite Alchemy Pavilion?" Bai Yu clapped his hand as he said in admiration, "Miss, you're quite clever. Not only that, but you're really lucky as well since you managed to find the Tomb of Extreme Path. You're definitely qualified to be my maidservant." Linglong looked at Bai Yu speechlessly. Then, she looked at Bai Haitian and asked, "You're still not making your move." Bai Haitian said, "Miss, I can see you're very prideful and will never submit to him. However, you might die if you don't. Why don't we work together to deal with him?" Linglong nodded. "All right, you attack first." The corners of Bai Haitian's lips twitched. However, he had no other choice but to order in a hoarse voice, "Uncle Prawn, let's fight." Following that, the silver-armored warriors at both sides of the flying ship straightened their backs. Following that, streams of energy surged out of their bodies into the flying ship as their bodies swiftly withered. It was as though they were transferring all their energies to the flying ship. Swoosh! Energy began to surge from the flying ship. Then, the flying ship shook before it flew forward. Alas, 4 experts standing in 4 different directions waved their flags in unison, stopping the flying ship from leaving. Following that, the flying ship cracked as divine light burst forth. It looked as though it was being slowly crushed by a pair of huge invisible hands. Bai Haitian was frightened out of his wits. His 3 subordinates charged out furiously, but they were easily blasted away by 3 bolts of lightning that appeared out of thin air. At this moment, the sound of an explosion rang in the air, as a figure suddenly appeared. The figure belonged to an old man. He grabbed Bai Haitian with one hand as he tore the void open. Then, he hurriedly pulled Bai Haitian into the void with him. Bai Yu watched with a cheerful expression on his face. Clearly, he had no intention of making a move. Instead, Bai Yu's 4 guardians controlled their respective swords and formed a sword formation that surrounded the old man and Bai Haitian before the duo could escape. The swords continued to spin in place before releasing countless energy swords. Upon seeing this, Bai Haitian cried out desperately, "Stop! Please stop! I'm willing to submit to you. I'm willing to become your mount." Alas, no one paid attention to Bai Haitian. Soon after, Bai Haitian and the old man were reduced into a mist of blood. Bai Yu sighed helplessly. "Why didn't the 4 of you restrain yourselves? What can I do with them when they're nothing but a mist of blood now?" Then he shifted his eyes to Linglong and asked with a smile, "Have you decided?" "What if I refuse?" Linglong asked icily. The smile vanished from Bai Yu's face immediately. He straightened his back as he said, "It's a golden opportunity and a blessing for you to become my maidservant. There's only one outcome waiting for you if you refuse me. Moreover, you entered Yun Tiankong's tomb and took away what's meant to be mine. I give you one last chance. Do you agree to be my slave?" Linglong's voice turned even frostier as she said, "Oh, so now your offer has been reduced to slave from maidservant." At the same time, mana surged out of her body, turning into streaks of light. At this moment, she looked like a fairy who had descended from the heavens. Bai Yu said, "That's the price of refusing me before this. I'm only giving you a second chance because I'm in a good mood today." At this moment, Bai Yu suddenly turned when he saw an energy sword shooting out a tear in the void, killing one of his guardians. Jiang Ming was enraged by Bai Yu trying to force his junior sister to become his slave that he instinctively attacked. He did not use his weapon or special ability. Instead, he used the high-grade artifact he obtained from Qingyun sect's Ji Cheng Qing and used the sect's special Slice the Heavens sword technique. Usually, apart from comprehending Symbotas and cultivating, Jiang Ming would also focus on learning his special abilities and techniques. He was not an exceptionally fast learner, but after cultivating the Grand Path Almighty Method Sutra, his physique and mind underwent a huge transformation. His comprehension skills, which were further enhanced by human spiritual fruits, earth spiritual fruits, and heaven spiritual fruits, had improved by leaps and bounds as well. Coupled with the enlightening tea leaf, he could comprehend a special ability to the rudimentary stage in just a day. The Slice the Heaven was a special sword technique that Jiang Ming had comprehended to the mastery stage. He was just a few steps away from reaching perfection. When he struck with Slice the Heaven, its force was so powerful that it cut down one of Bai Yu's guardians with just a strike. Bai Yu, the holy son of the Infinite Alchemy Pavilion. You're a prominent figure, a brilliant prodigy and widely respected in Zhong province, so no one dares to discipline you even when you've done wrong. Is that why you dare to act rampantly even though you're in Qing province, which is a territory of Qingyun sect? Do you have a death wish? If so, I'll kill you and fulfill your wish today," Jiang Ming said in a loud voice that reverberated in the air. Then he cried out, "Wood Dragon." He raised his left hand and mana surged out immediately, merging with the universe Tao fluctuations. In just a moment, countless seedlings sprouted from the ground for a few dozen miles. Just as swiftly, they grew into towering trees that were hundreds of meters tall. Subsequently, what looked like 3 small green dragons shot toward Bai Yu and his 3 guardians from different directions before surrounding the trio in a deadly formation. Bai Yu frowned deeply as he brought out a sword. He looked like a streak of light as he moved, slashing the branches around him in a frenzy as he said, "Slice the heaven, Wood Dragon, these are 2 of King Yun's sect's secret techniques. Fellow cultivator of sacred lands, since you know I'm the holy son of the Infinity Alchemy Pavilion, you still dare to attack me? Do you intend to start a war between 2 sacred lands?" When Bai Yu finished speaking, he brandished his sword and carved a path open before charging toward Jiang Ming. Linglong, who was standing at the side, frowned upon seeing this. This person feels familiar. However, I can't see his face due to the divine light masking his appearance. Although towering trees grew in front of Linglong, there was a path of retreat behind her. She spun around and retreated into the distance before she watched the fight up ahead with a confused expression on her face. At the same time, various thoughts raced through her mind. King Yun's sect and the Infinite Alchemy Pavilion are both sacred lands. It's hard to tell which of them is stronger. Why is that person attacking Bai Yu though? Openly attacking and killing a holy son is tantamount to a declaration of war. Is he an imposter? It's possible, but the techniques he used are King Yun's sect's special techniques. Moreover, it seems like he's not bothered with me at all. He even let me leave. Wait a minute. When I was about to get attacked, he suddenly appeared. Is it possible that he's trying to help me? But why? Even if he's not from King Yun's sect, I don't think he's from Zhu Yang's sect. Linglong stood in the distance. She did not leave. She wanted to watch the outcome of the battle. As for her safety, even if the newcomer was in the primal spirit realm, she was confident that she could protect herself. Bai Yu, you think too highly of yourself. You don't represent the entire Infinite Alchemy Pavilion just yet, Jiang Ming said. His figure flashed as he suddenly merged with one of the towering trees. This was a feat only possible after one had mastered the wood Samboda. Following that, Jiang Ming appeared behind one of the guardians. Alas, he had underestimated the person in front of him. His opponent was stronger than he had expected. A huge bell shrouded in golden qi descended at once. Underneath the bell, 4 swords spun swiftly around him, doubling as a weapon and a shield. As they spun, they easily cut off the branches and vines that had snaked toward him. Heaven's Suppression Divine Seal. Jiang Ming cried out as he drew a seal in the air with his left hand. As he leaped up, a divine seal appeared out of thin air, drawing power from the earth and the sky. Its power was overbearing. No, the Guardian, a nascent soul expert, cried out. Upon sensing the danger, his instincts commanded him to turn around. At the same time, the 4 swords shot toward the divine seal, but were easily blasted away. Even the bell hanging above crashed down on him, nearly smashing his head. Blood gushed out of his injuries as he fell. At the same time, the branches and the vines seized the chance and shot toward the Guardian. They pierced him, draining him of his mana and blood before causing his flesh to wither. Just like that, he died. Dim it! Bai Yu cursed upon seeing this. He roared, heaven-blazing swords. Swoosh! Bai Yu summoned 108 flying swords, all of which were medium-grade artifacts, forming a sword formation. He intended to keep this move as his trump card, but the situation forced him to unleash this skill now. Based on how powerful his opponent was, he had no choice but to use this skill now. Bai Yu had heard of the Wood Dragon, but he did not expect it to be so formidable. Its force was like that of a primal spirit cultivator. He could not destroy the attack easily. Hence, he knew he had no choice but to go all out in this battle. When the flying swords appeared, they shot fire out of their tips, forming a few flaming dragons. The flaming dragons flew toward the towering trees and reduced half of them into ashes in just a moment. Charge! The remaining 2 guardians rushed out. They brought out a flag each to form a formation to trap Jiang Ming and restrict his movements. Heaven's Suppression Divine Seal. Jiang Ming launched another divine seal, breaking the formation. Then, he raised his sword with his right hand. At the same time, dark clouds began to converge above Jiang Ming. Claps of thunder sounded in succession as lightning bolts flashed in the sky. 9 heavens imperial lightning. I'll end all of you with this. Jiang Ming brought his sword down. Simultaneously, the lightning bolts struck his enemies. Boom! Thunder continued to ring in the air as lightning bolts struck continuously, flashing blindingly. Bai Yu mentally recalled his swords. When they returned to his side, they formed a sword formation above him to keep the lightning bolts at bay. It's so powerful. The sword formation was trembling to Bai Yu's shock. The lightning bolts were wearing the formation down. Bai Yu was confident he could hold off an ordinary primal spirit expert with the sword formation. However, he was falling into a disadvantageous position at this moment. The force of the attack was too strong and its range was too wide. At this time, 2 miserable cries rang in Bai Yu's ears. His heart skipped a beat as he used a special ability. His eyes suddenly shone and the scene of his remaining guardians being struck to death by the lightning bolt appeared before his eyes. Overwhelmed by his rage, Bai Yu growled. Deem you Qingyun sect, I'm going to kill everyone in your sect for this. The guardians were given to him by the Infinite Alchemy Pavilion. Not only did they protect him, but they were like a status symbol as well. Not even in his wildest dreams did he imagine he would lose them all today. I'm going to kill you. Bai Yu roared as he brought out a jade amulet with a small sword carved on it. When it tossed the jade amulet into the air, it suddenly exploded, releasing a small sword that was sealed within. For a moment, the lightning and the thunder seemed to disappear as an overwhelming and destructive sword intent swept out in all directions. Time seemed to stand still for a second before millions of small swords suddenly appeared, causing violent Dao fluctuations. The millions of small swords converged into a sword domain immediately. Linglong's eyes widened upon seeing. This energy sword contains the force of a Paradis Realm expert. It can easily kill a primal spirit expert. Following that, a thought appeared in Linglong's mind. Can that mysterious man withstand this attack? At the peak of a mountain 5,000 miles away, an older man sat in a lotus position while meditating under the moon. At this moment, his eyes suddenly snapped open. It shone brightly as he looked into the distance. This is the energy sword sealed by my martial uncle. This is bad. The Holy Sun is in danger. The older man's expression changed drastically when he figured out what was happening. He looked like a streak of light as he flew toward his destination. Meanwhile, Jiang Ming's eyelids twitched as he looked at the destructive energy sword in front of him. The air seemed frozen and he felt so heavy as though a mountain was pressing down on him. At this time, Linglong's voice rang in his ears, telling him that the energy sword was the power of a parody expert. Parody expert? Jiang Ming's heart skipped a beat. A parody cultivator was on a whole different level compared to a primal spirit cultivator. Even if this power had been sealed for a long time, it was still a huge force to be reckoned with. In just a blink of an eye, the energy sword, which seemed like it could tear the sky asunder, fell toward Jiang Ming. Jiang Ming felt as though he was being restrained by invisible hands. He could not move to avoid the incoming attack no matter how hard he struggled. Great Akasa formless sword chi. Jiang Ming unleashed all his power at this moment. He swung his sword and manifested 9 energy swords. The 9 energy swords swiftly surged into purple cloud. Then, crisp noises rang in the air as cracks appeared on its surface. 9 energy swords indicated that one had reached the rudimentary stage. Boom! Jiang Ming slashed the purple cloud upward, bringing it to meet the descending energy sword in midair. A devastating burst of energy swept out when the two attacks collided. Boom! Energy swords shot out in all directions as the void rippled and distorted. Crack! The purple cloud shattered into pieces, and Jiang Ming was also pushed back 1,000 meters by the blast. Impressive! Jiang Ming exclaimed. This was by far the strongest attack he had encountered. It had forced him to unleash his full strength. He sighed in relief when he lifted his head and saw that the energy sword had dissipated after the collision. Meanwhile, Linglong, who was watching from a distance, frowned deeply. He's terrifyingly strong. Although he's only in the Dao Seed realm, he's able to hold his ground against the sealed force of a parody expert. Even I am not capable of such a feat. If I were in his shoes earlier, there are only 2 outcomes for me, dead or grievously injured. However, when he cast his technique earlier, it felt like he had a mysterious connection to the space around him. His mastery over the law of space and the force of his technique is definitely top-notch among cultivators. However, even if he's terrifyingly strong, how could he parry the attack of a parody expert? Just how much mana does he have? 10 times more than mine? Now it should be at least 100 times more. How's that possible? How can such a freak like him exist in the mortal realm? Linglong still found it difficult to accept after analyzing the person in front of her. I don't remember such a person in my previous life. Just where or when did things start to change? Linglong could not figure it out no matter how hard she tried. Meanwhile, Bai Yu felt even more dumbfounded than Linglong. His shock was written all over his face as he exclaimed in disbelief, "You blocked my attack?" "No. I can clearly sense you're not in the nascent soul realm, nor did you form your primal spirit. You're only in the Dao Seed realm, so there's no way you could have blocked my attack. You must be hiding your strength." "I don't care if you're hiding your strength, you're still going to die today." Astral Primal Sword Array. Bai Yu raised his hand as 108 swords soared into the sky. In just a matter of minutes, they filled the entire sky and formed a circle with all their tips pointed at Jiang Ming. They thrummed, distorting the void around them. After a brief moment, energy swords flew out one after another and swept toward Jiang Ming like a storm. At this time, blue crystal, a high-grade artifact, materialized in Jiang Ming's hand. Truth be told, he was not concerned about the sword array at all. After all, Bai Yu was just a Dao Seed cultivator. Even if Bai Yu was a holy son and had the Heaven Overlord body, Bai Yu was still no match for him. Slice the heaven. Jiang Ming brandished his sword, blocking all the energy swords that shot at him. After a moment, a huge number of energy swords burst forth from his body and formed a shield around him to ward off the attack. "I'll draw my sword and cleave the sky into 2. Jiang Ming blasted the sword formation apart at this moment. The 108 swords flew back immediately. Upon seeing this, Jiang Ming sighed in disappointment. If it were him, he was certain nobody would be able to break his formation. What a shame. Die. Jiang Ming prepared to cast his special ability as the fluctuations from the death Dao surged. He swung his sword down with all his might at Baiyu's head. The clouds parted as the sky rippled. The moon shone brightly like a solitary white disk in the sky. Baiyu inhaled deeply as he brought a hammer. It was huge. Its handle alone was more than 2 meters long, and the diameter of its head was about a foot long. As soon as it appeared, a destructive force exploded. Baiyu roared, "You're the one who's going to die today." Baiyu swung the hammer down. The ley line in the ground thrummed as energy exploded. The force of the attack was immense and unimaginably destructive. Boom! The wind stirred and the earth shook. The impact blew Baiyu back, and the hammer almost dropped from his hand. A surprised expression appeared on his face when he saw the Dao vessels on his body flashed one after another. "I was hurt," Baiyu exclaimed. "The heaven-shattering hammer and the armor I'm wearing are low-grade Dao vessels. Your sword is just a high-grade artifact. There's a huge difference between them. Even if I couldn't stop your attack, my armor should have absorbed most of the damage. There's no way you could have injured me." Baiyu continued to ramble on in disbelief. Baiyu narrowed his eyes as killing intent shone in them. "You old monster from the Qingyun sect, you're hell-bent on killing me, the holy son of the Infinite Alchemy Pavilion. It seems like the Qingyun sect really wants to wage a war against the Infinite Alchemy Pavilion. Very well. Let me show you the might of the Infinite Alchemy Pavilion." Swoosh! Baiyu waved his hand and sent a glowing disc formation toward Jiang Ming. When the disc formation shone, it drew energy from the void and transformed into a chain that imprisoned Jiang Ming. "Is this all you've got?" Jiang Ming scoffed. He brought his sword down and cleaved the disc formation into two. Just when he thought he had successfully neutralized the attack, a ball of flames descended and exploded. "I can't believe a holy son would stoop so low and resort to such a dirty trick." Jiang Ming narrowed his eyes. Then, he vanished into thin air. When he reappeared, he was already very far away from the explosion. When he looked at the spot where he was standing earlier, nothing could be seen but ashes. "I'm the holy son of the Infinite Alchemy Pavilion, and the artifacts are my weapons," Baiyu said, not letting his guard down. "What about you? You're an old freak, but you attack someone younger than you. Don't you feel any shame? You deserve it." Jiang Ming used the great Akasa step and appeared in front of Baiyu. Baiyu defended himself with the heaven-shattering hammer, but he was sent flying back again. However, this time he spat out a mouthful of blood. He was in such excruciating pain that it felt as though his body was being torn apart. Baiyu was horrified by Jiang Ming's immense strength. Fear and anxiety began to sprout in his heart. "I've been very careful. I activated the Jade Amulet after he killed my 4 guardians. After activating the Jade Amulet, the other guardians should have rushed to my aid immediately. Where are they? Is it because I'm too far away?" Baiyu's expression changed when this thought appeared in his mind. "The power of the Dao vessels is indeed formidable, but this is where it ends," Jiang Ming said. "Remember this, your demise is caused by you trampling on Qingyun sect's dignity. With my sword, I'll cleave the sky into 2. Meet your death. Ultimate slash." Jiang Ming unleashed the strongest form of this special ability. At the same time, he imbued it with the destructive Samboda he had comprehended, boosting the attack to another level. "No, there's no way for me to block this attack." Baiyu's face turned ashen. He could now sense his guardian was on the way over, but it was too late. "It's all or nothing now," Baiyu thought to himself as he tossed something into the air before a chessboard appeared in the air. As soon as the chessboard appeared, the void distorted and rippled, destroying Jiang Ming's energy sword. Following that, the chessboard suddenly turned into an orb, pulling Jiang Ming into it. Linglong did not leave. She continued watching the battle from a distance. A lot had happened, but it all happened in just a blink of an eye. Her eyes widened when she saw the chessboard. "That's the mana sealing chessboard." Before she could ponder on it, her head suddenly jerked up as she looked into the distance. She could sense an immense aura coming this way at a high speed. Her body grew translucent immediately, and it did not take long before she disappeared into thin air. She did not leave. She had only cast an invisibility spell. In the distance, Baiyu had vanished as well. Only the chessboard remained hovering in the night sky. At this time, the strong aura that Linglong sensed finally arrived. It belonged to an old man. His aura was so strong that it felt like the aura of a supreme immortal who had descended to the mortal realm. "This, the mana-sealing chessboard." The old man's expression darkened when he saw the glowing chessboard in the air. "Who the hell dares to attack the Holy Sun? Whoever you are, you must have a death wish." The old man drew closer to the chessboard and tried to look at the situation inside, but to no avail. "Once the chessboard is activated, there'll be death. I've warned him repeatedly not to use it unless he's in a life-or-death situation," the old man muttered to himself with a frosty expression on his face. "I don't care who you are. Even if you're from the Qingyun sect, there's only one outcome for acting against the Holy Sun: death." The old man continued to look at the chessboard silently. Meanwhile, Linglong, who had turned invisible, remained still. She did not even dare to look at the old man, for she knew even a look would betray her presence. Inside the chessboard, there was nothing but a flat landscape. After Jiang Ming surveyed his surroundings, he had a basic understanding of his situation. The radius of this place was about 100 miles. It was not very vast and was square in shape. His heart raced in his chest as he descended. He had tried his best to escape the pulling force from the chessboard Baiyu had tossed out earlier. When his feet finally touched the ground, the sense of something was amiss grew stronger. Soon enough, he discovered that he had lost access to his mana. It felt as though the energy in this place had isolated him from his mana. It was like it had erected a barrier between him and his mana. No matter how much strength he mustered up, he could not break the barrier. Did it seal my mana? Jiang Ming muttered. With my current cultivation base, even a Paddy expert wouldn't be able to seal my mana without my notice. However, this item did it with ease. This means this item is of top grade and its power has been fully unlocked. Jiang Ming tried to fly but failed. Then, he discovered his physical strength and fake appearance, born from a secret facial molding technique, were unaffected. Interesting, Jiang Ming murmured. Then, he shifted his gaze to Baiyu, who just appeared in front of him. He called up the human path records. The book did not seem to be affected, and he could control it as usual. At this moment, a thought appeared in his mind. Maybe I can use the human path records to break the barrier that isolates me from the mana in my sea of consciousness. Why didn't I think of this earlier? You look younger than I expected, Baiyu said, pulling Jiang Ming away from his thoughts. At this moment, he was no longer holding the heaven-shattering hammer. Instead, he was holding a black sword that was more than a meter long. He kept his eyes trained on Jiang Ming as he walked forward and said, I've been keeping a low profile since I came to the eastern region, so I don't think I've offended anyone. Even if I did, I would definitely kill them. No, the reason you're after me is not because I've trampled on Qingyun sect's dignity, right? You're just looking for a scapegoat, correct? The eastern region is Qingyun sect's territory. We have eyes everywhere. Did you think you can hide what you've done from us? Jiang Ming coldly said, as a holy son, you should be killing devils and maintaining the order. But did you do, destroying villages and families and leaving destruction in your wake? Do you really think you're qualified to be a holy son? Bai said derisively, they're nothing but peasants. I'm sure Qingyun sect does this all the time as well. If my memories serve me right, you'd even started a massacre in a captured city. How shameless of you to accuse me of destroying villages and families. Don't make me laugh. I take back what I said earlier about you looking for a scapegoat. Based on how you use the few special techniques of Qingyun sect with such ease, you're definitely an accomplished cultivator. However, I don't know what happened, but I can tell you now loathe the Qingyun sect to the core. Hence, you want to kill me to start a war between the two sacred lands, am I right? Jiang Ming clapped his hands. As expected of a holy son, you're really quick-witted. Then, he pointed upward and asked, can you tell me what's this thing? Bai Yi flexed his arm as he flipped his sword, looking really powerful. He said, I thought you'd never ask. Once, I entered an ancient immortal's cave. After a life-or-death struggle, I obtained this chessboard. It's called the mana-sealing chessboard. Once you enter it, you won't be able to use mana at all. You can only fight hand-to-hand combat in here. Unfortunately, I've yet to master it, so other than myself, I can only bring one person to this place at a time. Now that we've entered this place, the only way for us to leave is if one of us dies. A smile appeared on Bai Yi's face as he continued to say, oh right, I forgot to mention that as the master of the chessboard, my physical strength has been enhanced to 5 times stronger. I feel like I must also mention that I possess the Heaven Overlord body. This means my physical strength is unparalleled. As the holy son of the Infinite Alchemy Pavilion, I cultivated the strongest body tempering secret technique. My physical body has been tempered to that of a nascent soul cultivator from the endless stream of resources the Infinite Alchemy Pavilion provides me as well. Once I activate my Heaven Overlord body, I'll be as strong as a primal spirit cultivator. With the effect of the chessboard, you're as good as dead. Bai Yi said smugly, this is why the mana-sealing chessboard is perfect for me and why I kept it as my trump card. Even a parity expert's mana would be sealed if he or she came in here. When I first obtained the mana-sealing chessboard, I tested it out with the Infinite Alchemy Pavilion Elders. We fought without our powers, only with our physical strength. I've defeated both Elders in the Primal Spirit Realm and the Paradise Realm, Bai Yi said, hence you'll definitely die today. The more Bai Yu spoke, the more confident he grew. I'll definitely die today. Jiang Ming shook his head and said with a smile, you're all bark and no bite. The reason you told me so much is to convince yourself you're stronger than I am and to intimidate me. You said your physical strength is enhanced by 5 times? You've defeated Primal Spirit and Parity cultivators in here? Bullshit. If that's true, you would have attacked me immediately without rambling on and on. You're the holy son of the Infinite Alchemy Pavilion, the most respected figure in Zhong Province, and you hold yourself in high esteem. After I killed all 4 of your guardians, there's no way you'd waste time talking to me if you're really capable of killing me so easily like you said. Come by you. Like you said, only one of us will survive today. Jiang Ming felt his blood boil as he wielded his sword with his right hand and clenched his left hand into a fist. Then, he walked toward Bai Yu. Bai Yu threw his head back and laughed heartily. Nevertheless, his laughter did not reach his eyes. When he stopped laughing, he looked at Jiang Ming and said, "Do you know why most cultivators focused on mastering spells and only a few chose to temper the bodies? It's because the process of tempering the body is arduous and painful. Although there are many people from sacred lands, unless they have a god body, saint body, or a special physique like mine, they won't bother to temper their bodies. I have the Heaven Overlord body and I've defeated others with god bodies at the same level. Who do you think you are that I have to use such a petty trick on you? The sword in my hand is a weapon specially forged for the mana-sealing chessboard. Although it has no special abilities, it's strong and sharp. It can easily pierce the scales of a demon." Bai Yu swung his sword toward Jiang Ming with deadly precision as he shouted, "Today I'll cut you down with my golden obsidian. Die." The wind began to howl and the void began to ripple. Jiang Ming frowned as he raised his sword to parry the sword. He knew he had to be cautious since he was in Bai Yu's mana-sealing chessboard. Boom! The two swords clashed. Yang Ming's arm trembled slightly from the clash. He was briefly stunned. When he recovered, he asked incredulously, "Is this all you've got? I thought you cultivated the strongest body tempering technique. Don't you possess the Heaven Overlord body? Isn't your strength amplified by 5 times? Didn't you defeat Primal Spirit and Parody experts in here? Is this really all you've got? How's this possible?" Bai Yu stammered as his face turned pale. When Bai Yu regained his senses, he hurriedly retreated. He looked at Jiang Ming and Jiang Ming's sword with a stupefied expression on his face. Although the things he told Jiang Ming were not completely true, he was not lying when he said he had a strong physical body. He could not wrap his mind around what had just transpired. "Do you have a god body or a saint body?" Bai Yu asked as he gulped. Beads of cold sweat began to form on his forehead and trickled down the sides of his face. A physical combat was simple. Whoever was stronger would win. There were very few special abilities that boosted physical strength, and the Infinite Alchemy Pavilion only had one. Bai Yu had only mastered it to the rudimentary stage. He had planned to focus on cultivating it, but he had to neglect it since he had been focused on searching for the Tomb of Extreme Path over the past few years. "What do you think?" Jiang Ming smiled like the Cheshire Cat as he looked at Blue Crystal. After clashing with Bai Yu, the sword was slightly dented and hairline cracks could be seen on it. "Well, I guess this is as far as it can go. It's too light and I couldn't imbue it with my mana. However, I have to admit his physical body and strength are quite strong. Alas, mine is stronger than his," Jiang Ming thought to himself. Jiang Ming knew his body was strong even if he did not cultivate any body tempering technique. It was stronger than most people's. After all, half of his cultivation reward from the system went into his body. Moreover, whenever he cultivated the Grand Path Almighty Method Sutra, it would automatically temper his body as well. It focused on both the physical body and the mana, after all. As a result, his body had been transformed into the primary Taoist body. "It seems like my primary Taoist body is stronger than a god body and saint body." Jiang Ming now had a better grasp of his physical body's strength after crossing swords with Bai Yu. At this time, Jiang Ming tossed Blue Crystal to the side before he leaped into the air toward Bai Yu. "You've had your shot. It's my turn now." Boom. When Jiang Ming punched his fist out, there was a swoosh and a crack of thunder. "This is my territory. I don't believe you can kill me," Bai Yu shouted as his body began to grow. This was the effect of the physical special ability he had comprehended. His blood began to pump into his veins vigorously, increasing his strengths by leaps and bounds. "Die!" Bai Yu brought his sword down with all his might. Unexpectedly, Jiang Ming did not dodge. Instead, he kept his arm outstretched and met the blade of the sword head-on. The force of the collision exploded, blowing golden obsidian away. Bai Yu was shocked as he was sent flying back. When he looked down, he saw skin had burst, his muscles were torn and his bones were cracked. Jiang Ming stepped forward, closing the distance between them in mere seconds before he punched Bai Yu's face. When Bai Yu heard the sound of wind whistling that accompanied the incoming punch, which sounded like a death knell, his face paled. He quickly crossed his arms in front of him to block the punch. Alas, it was futile. The sound of an explosion rang in the air as Jiang Ming broke both his arms. "Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. This will be the end of you, Bai Yu," Jiang Ming said as he leaped into the air. He spun to build up his momentum before he kicked Bai Yu, crushing Bai Yu's head. Blood gushed out, forming an arc in the air. Just like that, Bai Yu died. After Jiang Ming landed, he called up the human path record swoosh. Name Bai Yu, gender male, cultivation base, Tao seed realm. Background: Holy Son of the Infinite Alchemy Pavilion relationship, 0 innate talent, 10 stars. Heaven Overlord body, status dead. At the same time, he could feel the energy sealing his mana dissipating. Now that Bai Yu died the mana sealing chessboard, everyone's mana would be sealed. One's mana would only be unsealed after one party died. Now that Bai Yu died, the mana sealing chessboard was without a master. However, before Jiang Ming could do anything, he felt a force pulling him away. He hurriedly grabbed blue crystal, golden obsidian, and Bai Yu's spatial ring before he was sent out. As soon as Jiang Ming was sent out of the chessboard, he saw a pair of frosty eyes as soon as he looked up. The old man was slightly startled before his eyes burned with the flames of fury when he finally processed what Jiang Ming's appearance meant. Die. The old man had been waiting for Bai Yu outside the mana-sealing chest plate. However, when he saw the person who came out was not Bai Yu but a stranger, he completely lost it. He raised his hand and a cauldron appeared above Jiang Ming. The cauldron descended swiftly on Jiang Ming. Its power was so immense that it even caused a ripple in the void. As though he had expected it, Jiang Ming waved his hand, conjuring the Heaven Suppression Divine Seal. Both attacks carried a great force. When they collided, even the void was torn. The two opponents were sent flying back from the force of the collision. The force of the collision was as explosive as an atomic bomb. It swept out in all directions, causing the ground to split and the mountains to shake. Even Linglong, who was hiding, had no choice but to emerge and retreat into the distance. 9 heavens imperial lightning, Jiang Ming cried out. He only regained his footing after flying thousands of meters back. When he regained his composure, he charged out again. At the same time, he used his special ability. Boom! A lightning bolt struck at the old man. Jiang Ming knew the old man had to be Bai Yu's helper. Since the old man was on Bai Yu's side, there was only one thing left for him to do. Kill the old man. Wood Dragon. Jiang Ming did not give the old man time to attack before he used another special ability. The old man had just blocked the lightning bolt when a forest grew around him in just a blink of an eye. Branches and vines shot out, turning into lances, spears, and small dragons. They surrounded the old man and attacked him relentlessly. Swoosh! The human path records appeared once again. Name: Yang Fan. Gender: male. Cultivation base: primal spirit realm. Background: Elder of the Infinite Alchemy Pavilion. Relationship: -98 innate talent. 9 stars. Status: wasted his potential by becoming the Holy Sun's guardian. He accompanied Bai Yu to look for Yun Tiankong's tomb. He realized something was amiss when he sensed Bai Yu had activated the Parady's energy sword that was sealed. When he arrived, the mana-sealing chessboard has been activated, so he was waiting for Bai Yu to come out. However, when he discovered Bai Yu is dead, he flew into a rage and began to attack Jiang Ming. A primal spirit guardian? Jiang Ming felt his eyes twitch. It seemed like the Infinite Alchemy Pavilion really treasured their holy sun. Not only did Bai Yu have 4 guardians in the nascent soul realm, but Bai Yu even had a guardian in the primal spirit realm. Jiang Ming's mind inadvertently wandered to Mu Lei. As the core disciple of the Qingyun sect, his treatment was very bad compared to Bai Yu's. However, he thought it was reasonable. Mu Lei was just a core disciple in the Golden Core realm. Mu Lei was not a holy sun after all. With just a thought, a halberd appeared in Jiang Ming's hand. Middle-grade Dao vessel, Tyran halberd. Rumble. The trees up ahead were burning at this moment. The old man appeared in the air and glared at Jiang Ming. State your name. Jiang Ming did not bother to respond to the question. He brandished the Tyran halberd and used the Slice the Heaven technique. Since the halberd was a middle-grade Dao vessel, it was much stronger than blue crystal. Needless to say, the force of Slice the Heaven was much stronger now that he used it with a middle-grade Dao vessel. The old man summoned a sword and swung it down to intercept Jiang Ming's attack. He growled, Slice the Heaven, Heaven Suppression Divine Seal, 9 Heavens Imperial Lightning, and Wood Dragon. These are all Qingyun sect's secret techniques. Who are you? Why did you kill the holy sun of the Infinite Alchemy Pavilion? Jiang Ming continued to ignore the old man. He imbued all his mana into the halberd and attacked with all his might. However, the old man managed to parry all his strikes. You're not going to speak? Very well, it's not like I care. Since you killed the holy sun of our Infinite Alchemy Pavilion, I'm going to destroy the Qingyun sect. The old man waved his hand, and 4 cauldrons suddenly appeared around Jiang Ming. Cauldrons, heed my call. The old man was about to attack with his Dao vessel when Jiang Ming suddenly raised his halberd. A divine mountain suddenly appeared in the sky. It was massive and majestic. The aura it exuded was so vast and immense that the 4 cauldrons were instantly blown away and the space collapsed. Although special abilities were powerful, they consumed a lot of mana and energy. It was impossible to cast them multiple times. However, this did not apply to Jiang Jin. He possessed a vast amount of mana after all. Not even a primal spirit cultivator was a match for him now. Hence, he was able to cast multiple special abilities consecutively without any problems. The strongest offensive special ability in his arsenal was the Great Akasa Formless Sword Chi. However, he had only comprehended it to the rudimentary stage. The other offensive special ability was the 9 Divine Mountains Treasure. This ability could call forth the otherworldly 9 Divine Mountain, which emitted a terrifying and oppressive aura. 9 rings of light circled the Black Mountain, sending the old man's 4 cauldrons flying and suppressing the old man at the same time. "What's this special ability? It's so powerful," the old man exclaimed as his eyes widened in shock. The force of the mountain did not lessen even though he was wearing his armor. The air seemed frozen and he was having a difficult time breathing. Moreover, an incomparably heavy weight seemed to be pressing down on him in his sea of consciousness. 6 heavenly cannon. The old man clapped his hands, forming a circle that shot out a barrage of laser beams at the descending divine mountain. The laser beams shot out at lightning speed and landed with a loud bang on their target. The force was strong enough to kill a nascent soul cultivator, but it did nothing to the divine mountain. Rumble. The divine mountain continued to fall unimpeded toward the old man, and he had no other choice but to descend to the ground. He hurriedly controlled the cauldron to move back to his side. The cauldron began to spin and glow again as though they were supplying him with power since he was able to withstand the oppressive force for a moment. The old man shouted, "Merge 9 heavenly cannon, open up a path for me." The attack this time managed to destroy the divine mountain, but the old man's face paled immediately. The attack had depleted a lot of his mana and energy after all. 9 heavens imperial lightning. Jiang Ming was determined not to give the old man even a moment of respite. He waved his hand, summoning lightning bolts to strike the old man again. The force of the lightning bolts was terrifying. It successfully intimidated the old man. He planted his feet firmly on the ground as the cauldron spun around him, shielding him from the lightning bolt. Heaven suppression divine seal. Jiang Ming stepped forward, putting away the Tyran halberd as lightning bolts flashed in the sky. He raised his left hand, turning his palm upward, as inscriptions appeared out of thin air. The inscriptions spun, forming a divine seal, before it shot toward the old man. Jiang Ming cast his special abilities one after another. The lightning bolts that flashed around made him look like a thunder god who had descended to the mortal realm. A deep chasm appeared on the ground as the mountains in the vicinity trembled and collapsed. Destruction was left in the wake of the battle between 2 cultivators. None of them cared about the damages they caused at this moment now that the situation had escalated to this point. "You're not in the primal spirit realm, right? Since our battle started, I've not sensed the fluctuations of the energy of a primal spirit cultivator from you. How is it that you possess so much mana?" the old man asked. Although he was shocked, he was still able to maintain his composure. After all, he was very experienced. At this time he raised his hand, and a divine sword appeared in his hand. With an upward slash he cleaved the divine seal into 2. Nevertheless, the force of the destruction sent him flying back. The old man panted heavily. He had depleted a lot of mana maintaining the cauldron and summoning the middle-grade divine sword. "Do you think I can't kill you if I'm not in the primal spirit realm?" Jiang Ming scoffed. "Let me tell you, I'm the immortal fetus. I've been cultivating in the Forbidden Land, but as soon as I came from seclusion, I found a holy sun from the Zhang province acting rampantly here. Do you think we're pushovers? Do you think we'll let you get away with this? You'll have to die for this." Jiang Ming cast the 9 divine mountain treasure again. When the divine treasure appeared, its immense force blasted the old man's cauldron away again. "Immortal fetus? To hell with the immortal fetus. You're the one who's going to die." The old man grew agitated when Jiang Ming mentioned the holy sun. His eyes burned with rage as he shouted, "Great sky-shattering sword technique." The old man slashed upward, destroying the divine mountain with just a strike. Jiang Ming frowned as he looked at the old man's sword. As expected of an expert from the Infinite Alchemy Pavilion, he really has a lot of high-grade weapons in his arsenal. If the old man were just a primal spirit cultivator, Jiang Ming would have been able to kill the old man a long time ago. Alas, the old man was not a weak primal spirit cultivator. Moreover, he was from the Infinite Alchemy Pavilion, a sacred land that was known for their weapon forging skills. Not only were they wealthy, but they possessed many weapons and artifacts. Boom. While Jiang Ming was lost in his thoughts, the divine mountain collapsed, releasing an immense force. He did not move out of the way. Instead, he brought blue crystal out. Great Akasa formless sword chi. Jiang Ming brought his sword down on the old man. The old man parried the attack. Boom. An explosion rang in the air as the 2 swords collided, sending the old man flying into the distance. "Why is he so hard to kill?" Jiang Ming grumbled as he launched 3 shadowless needles at the old man. The shadowless needles were equivalent to a high-grade artifact. They shot toward the old man, who had yet to regain his footing. Their target was his forehead and ears. Swoosh! 4 cauldrons appeared around the old man in the nick of time, deflecting the 3 shadowless needles. However, due to the needles' nature as forbidden weapons, when they came into contact with the cauldrons, they exploded, sending the 4 top-grade cauldrons flying again. The old man was injured by this impact, spitting out a mouthful of blood. "Die!" Jiang Ming roared as he charged out. He appeared in front of the old man in just a blink of an eye. The tyrant halberd was in his hand once again. He raised it above his head, channeling all his mana and strength into his hands. Then he struck with all his might, further amplifying his shocking strength. Boom! As the halberd fell, it left ripples in the void. The old man's face turned pale as he hurriedly summoned a shield. a low-grade Dao defensive vessel. Alas, as soon as it appeared above him, it was destroyed by the halberd. Die, die, die. Jiang Ming brandished his halberd with all his might. After he shattered the shield, he struck at the old man again, destroying the old man's Dao sword and blasting the old man into the distance. This attack crushed the old man's protective armor, piercing his body and causing him to plummet to the ground. Boom! A huge pit appeared on the ground when the old man fell. He lay listlessly at the bottom of the pit as he stared at the night sky. He had lost his left arm, and half of his face was disfigured. When Jiang Ming was about to strike for the fourth time, a slit appeared on the old man's forehead. Following that, a miniature version of the old man appeared. It was the old man's primal spirit. Its expression was twisted in rage at this moment. Flaming primal spirit, transform, turn into a sword and kill the man before me, the old man shouted, his voice dripping with venom. The miniature figure opened its mouth, breathing out a stream of fire that turned into a sword. After that, it disappeared into the old man's forehead again. The flaming sword's speed was incredibly swift as it shot toward Jiang Ming. Bam! Jiang Ming could not evade it in time. When it landed, he felt his sea of consciousness shake, but it did not collapse. Following that, it sent the flaming sword flying back before Jiang Ming summoned a bolt of lightning to destroy it. Impossible. It didn't even pierce your sea of consciousness, the old man cried out, horrified. Are you really an immortal fetus blessed by an extreme path cultivator or an imminent immortal cultivator? The earlier attack was a forbidden spell. It's capable of injuring a Paradise cultivator. How can you escape unscathed? If it were to hit me, I'd need at least a century to recover. This is unfair. Boom. Jiang Ming ignored the old man and slammed his hand on the old man's head. Following that, a miniature figure appeared, trying to fly away. Trying to flee, Jiang Ming sneered. Jiang Ming was just about to cast the great Akasa formless sword chi again when a sword pierced the miniature figure, leaving a tear in the void. Jiang Ming was stunned. His eyes widened in shock when he finally regained his senses. He managed to tear a hole in the void. This is only possible after comprehending the mysteries of the void or the void movement techniques.